Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever Davy Dak fight with none other than my boy King Recon. And I'm really excited to have King Recon as the first one on here because I mentioned this on the channel before, but before I was a creator, I was a fan of One Piece and also a YouTube fan. So I've been watching King Recon for probably 3+ years. I remember when chapter 957 came out, I went right to his stream. When chapter 1000 came out, I went right to his stream. When chapter 1044, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49 came out, I was there. So without further ado, King Recon, if you want to go ahead and give an introduction, I know they know who you are, but I'm happy to have you here, man.
Dude, like I told you off air, it's an honor and a privilege, man. I appreciate you for not only your kind words, but for inviting me to be the first individual to take part in this, man. This is really cool. Like I said before, I love the layout. I love the concept behind this. So nothing but love to you, brother. And let's go ahead and get this started. I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. And, I told you a little bit off stream. One of the things that I'm really excited to talk about with you is kind of where the One Piece community is at right now, like how 2023 is going, for One Piece. I mean, 2022 was great, 2021 was good, but like I told you earlier, whenever I think of King Recon, and whenever I think every creator has like a little bit of a different spin in the community on whenever they make content. It's either maybe you're really theory based, or one of my favorites, like JD Legends, is very character and kind of like the emotional side based. And for you, one of the things I always think of is hype. Like if I'm super excited about something, I know I can go to King Recon and he's going to feel the same way about what's going on. And so that's where I want to start the discussion, because I think 2023 is going to be an absolutely insane year for One Piece on a number of levels. Obviously, manga has been growing in general. I mean, even manga outside of One Piece. But we also are going to get Gear 5 in the anime. We're going to get live action. And, so I just want to get your thoughts. Like, what are your expectations for kind of just the community as a whole? Like how big do you think One Piece is going to get, and how hype, how excited do you think, or how exciting do you think everything's going to be for the rest of the year?
Before I get into that, I want to congratulate you, because your video on One Piece's growth that you recently put out, I've seen a lot of people who don't even cover One Piece reacting to that video.
Oh wow.
So I've got to give you massive props for putting One Piece out there to continue to allow it to grow, man. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
It was really cool, like just seeing that on several different thumbnails of individuals being like, yo, what? Like One Piece is top grossing, is going in and stuff. So I saw it multiple times, and I wanted to congratulate you on that. Now that we're on the on that topic, because let me tell you something, bro. February, March, April, we're currently in Egghead season in the manga, to the point to where manga readers are finally getting everything that we've been wanting for God knows how many years. And it feels like it's back to back, right? Like we're getting the answers to like the most recent stuff with BV, and getting answers to Imu-sama's potential abilities with like the Lucia stuff, Luffy's dream. We're getting Vegapunk and what the Void Century actually is, more hints into the ancient weapons, the origin of devil fruits, all that stuff, right? But for me, I feel like the manga is going to be in a great place this year, similar to other transitional years like last year, like 2018, like 2015, like 2010, where you get multiple arcs in one year. Those are always the best years. Because when you get the end of one arc, which is always the best part of a One Piece arc, the end of an arc, then the transition period into the next arc, and the beginning of another one. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, we go to either Elbaf or the Moon this year. As One Piece fans, we're all going to be extremely excited for that. Like Egghead right now, end of Egghead, transitional period, and then the beginning of the next arc. The hype is going to be out of this world. For manga fans, like just for us who read on a weekly basis. Hitting on your anime thing, bro. The One Piece anime has been going in so hard that I continue to see people who don't even like watch One Piece watch some of these scenes, because they're just that insane. When that Gear 5 episode drops, it could be, I know that one for sure, but even the ones surrounding it, like the Drums of Liberation chapter in 1043, the original Luffy and Kaido quote-unquote finale in 1042, or even the final part of the fight in 1049. All of those going to be bangers. But that 1044 anime adaptation,
insane.
Really could be to One Piece what episode 95 in Dragon Ball Z is Super Saiyan transformation is for Dragon Ball.
Before you even said it, that's exactly what I was going to say. This is the Goku versus Frieza moment where even though us manga readers know it, the anime has a much wider reach because us as manga fans are gonna, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but generally speaking, we're gonna watch or be aware of what's happening in the manga. So like we're already in that boat. We like One Piece, all that kind of stuff. But the anime is where it reaches a much wider audience. And so building off your point, I know for me, one of my I don't want to say like biggest memories, but most clear memories of like a cartoon or any show as a kid was Goku versus Frieza. I remember staying up on Adult Swim late at night, whenever like they wouldn't show Dragon Ball next, and like we're at the right in the middle of like the heat of the battle. I'm like, bro, I gotta wait till tomorrow. Like I can't. I just saw Super Saiyan. So same thing. I 100% agree.
Yeah, dude, and that's the thing, right? Like I remember I made a massive thing a couple years ago about Toei and like their long recaps, going off of that comment, because there's a lot of people who do not watch these series on a weekly basis, and Toei from a marketing standpoint always puts like that 5-minute recap at the beginning of an episode to catch people up. That's why Marineford had those long recaps. That's why the Goku versus Frieza fight has long recaps. That's why the Cell Saga has long recaps, because their most popular arcs, they always put these long recaps there. But for One Piece in particular, with this, bro, could you imagine you're just a random kid on the street, you go home, or an adult, whatever, it doesn't matter what age you are for this stuff right here, and you just turn on the TV, go to Fuji TV, and you see the Drums of Liberation happening, Luffy, Gear 5, and all that stuff. Wouldn't that make you a fan forever?
Yes.
Because I know for Dragon Ball, and for me, and for probably you as well, and for a lot of other people, we didn't start Dragon Ball from the beginning, right? So,
yes.
Like DBZ, I remember the first episode I ever watched, to my knowledge, was during the Saiyan / Frieza saga stuff. And I was so immersed from the moment I started it, right? And I just kept going on from there on TV. And so I think Toei understands the power this moment has, not just for people who are already fans of the series. Everyone knows Gear 5 is like the biggest thing that's happened to the series in a long time. You were there that day last year. It was one of the craziest days to be a fan of One Piece ever. It was literally everywhere.
Yes.
And I think the anime is going to take that and like triple it.
Yes.
So where, like you said, there's a lot of people within my own friend base that they don't read the manga. They're cool with just watching the anime, and that is their experience. I know so many people who are anime only for One Piece, that when that happens and it's finally for everyone to see, not just manga readers, bro, Gear 5 is gonna be like legitimately everywhere, especially if it has an adaptation level of 10-15. This could be the year where, alongside the live action adaptation, and for me in the video game side of things, One Piece Odyssey brought One Piece to fans of JRPGs that they've never heard of this series before.
Right.
And so they're finally getting into it through there. So they're getting into it through the video games. The manga's on fire. The anime is going to propel people to catch up, because there's a lot of people catching up with the anime right now, and like the streamer world and the YouTube reaction world, and just in general.
Yes.
But when that Gear 5 episode drops, and then following that up with the live action adaptation, this might be the year where we get the most fans since like Marineford, Dressrosa, Wano, which is the 3 biggest booms we ever had in the series in North America.
Yes.
And I feel like now is going to be such an insane time to get into the series, because think about it like this, bro. Everyone who catches up to the series now is going to have the first part of the final saga to binge, the end of Wano to binge, the entirety of Wano to binge, and the first part of the final saga. And Oda's going to have a whole bunch of fans caught up to the final stretch of the series.
It's just think about the feeling of like, and this is one of my favorite part of One Piece is like just the ability to celebrate that together in such a massive community, where I'm sure you've had this before, but whenever you go meet like a random person and they're like, yeah, I watch One Piece, it's like, oh, like we're connected, you know what I mean? We are
immediately.
Yes, it's crazy. Like it's an immediate mind rope connection that's made. Yes. Like I had one of my best friends now. I worked with him, and like we were like sort of friends, but one day he walked in and was like, Dak, is that a Straw Hat decal on your car? And it was over. It was immediately like, oh, we're homies. Like it's over. And like and I worked from home a lot of the time, but I could go in if I wanted to, and I would find excuses to go in on Thursdays and Fridays just to be like, dude, you got to read the chapter, we got to talk about, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's that kind of thing where like even someone like you barely know, you feel that connection. So building off what you're saying with all the different media, I guess, to experience One Piece, the anime and the manga are obviously the most quintessential, but you brought up the video games, we have the live action coming, and obviously the anime is going to get a big boost with the events that are coming. So just the ability to like share all of like this big moment together, and if One Piece keeps growing this way, imagine what that's going to be like when there's like almost everyone is waiting for it. Because like when you think of like the Super Bowl, which I know you're pumped for the Super Bowl this weekend, but yeah, there you go. I'm rooting for him. But but you know, think about that, but almost for One Piece, right? Like Luffy getting to Laugh Tale and getting the One Piece is like a 30-year-long Super Bowl thing for manga fans, right? So, and I mentioned in that video you brought up, or like sports and anime have a big connection, right? I mean, just in general, like a lot of like Zion said, 80% of NBA players like anime, but there's also that layer of, you know, like some of the most typical shonen tropes are, you know, work your hardest and get stronger, and win the championship, whatever that is, in that, you know, become the Pirate King or the Hokage, whatever it is, right? And so sports have that same thing, like reach that next level, you know, like your will matters, the hard work. So there's a huge tie in there. And so I think sports, because I bring it up on the channel a lot like you do, I love whenever you would go get the Jordan jersey. I was always waiting for that in the chapters. So I think that's also a big avenue. You're actually the one who broke the news to me about the USC Trojans having the halftime show with the One Piece film Red. I didn't. You said that. I'm like, there's no way. I was like, there's no. Found the video. I'm like, I'm sending this to all my friends that won't start but are into sports. I sent it to them, and some of them did not. Maybe not because of that, but it starts that mental thing where it's like, all right, they're talking about it. Oh wait, so those people like One Piece is this big, and then eventually it finds its way to you somehow, and you just feel like I have to just give it a try. Like if I see it this often, it's got to be good, right?
100%. And that's why I think, like I said, it's gonna be such a big year, because now a lot of it started really a couple years ago, but now a lot of the big time Twitch streamers are starting to talk about One Piece.
Yes.
And it's kind of wild, because we all know how much influence a content creator can have on the audience, like you said, specifically because just because this individual likes it and talks about it in such a way, I want to give it a shot, right? And so because there's going to be a lot of people like that, and I can only imagine if the live action adaptation is good, because I'm a big fan of the original Last of Us game.
Okay.
And to hear that because I haven't watched the HBO series yet, but I've heard that it's doing so well that sales for the Last of Us game, which I thought already had crazy sales, have been up like almost 300%. And I was just thinking, I was like, if the One Piece, and the same thing with The Witcher, when that came out on Netflix, the sales went up crazy. So I was just thinking, I was like, there's a lot of people out there that'll never watch an episode of anime in their lives. So the live action adaptation is literally going to be their only like way of experiencing the series. If that delivers and it does it right, oh my god.
Yeah, I know. Well, and actually, I want to build off of that just because it's off the top. It's on the top of my head right now. So you mentioned delivering, and that's something I want to talk about because I know you do a lot of anime reactions and you're really into it. So you fully appreciate the greatness of Megumi Ishitani whenever it comes to making episodes. I've been telling people nonstop, like, whenever the next Megumi Ishitani episode is, I don't care what the chapter is that's adapted, it's gonna be good. She is gonna upgrading the source material is the MO of Megumi Ishitani, you know. So and so if you look at like the chapters of Megumi Ishitani's done, it was every 22 for a while. So it was like chapter 978, then 1000, then it should have been 1022, but it wasn't, because then it'd be 1022 and then 1044. So what I think happened, and again, this is just my speculation, but they probably had Megumi Ishitani put in all, like, don't worry about 1022, put all that effort into 1044. Like, we need, like, this is your thing. We're just focus on this for a year. You know what I mean? So talking about delivering, I think that's one of the like most exciting things to me is in my opinion, and what I think a lot of people agree on is like the best director, you know, at least recently for the One Piece episodes, is gonna be doing that episode, and they've had more time to do it. So
if you're right and Ishitani does that episode, because the thing is about chapter 1000's adaptation that makes it so special is the material, like you said, Ishitani up until that point did the adaptation 956 and made it episode 957, which is the Shichibukai stuff.
Yep.
Obviously, the source material is so fire, but the anime took it and elevated it somehow. Chapter 978 is a solid chapter. That became an all-timer thanks to Ishitani.
The music video vibes, right?
Yes, MTV queen over there.
Yes.
And and then episode 1015, because the original chapter is so special, the way in which that episode was done, that was I say this all the time in regards to the episode because I still can't believe it exists. There are people who worked on that episode that had never done a One Piece episode before and haven't done one since. That was a collaborative effort of Ishitani reaching out to legends in the industry, animators, people for the storyboard, whatever it is, people who never work on the series, for this one-time opportunity for legends within the business to put out this incredible product. If that happens again, even if Ishitani is not at the helm, if they just go out and reach out to the legends in the industry for this Gear 5 stuff, bro, if Ishitani's at the helm, it's going to be peak fiction regardless, but it's like no matter who is directing it, I feel like if they take that same thing again and they reach out to so many legends once more to work on Gear 5, and one of my personal things, Ishitani's at the very top of my list, like Dream, Chapter 1044, Gear 5 adaptation. But right under Ishitani, I want them to reach out to a classic Looney Tunes animator for this episode.
Yes. 1045. Really 1045, you mean? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I couldn't agree more, because that's the vibe. That's it, right? That's it's Toon Piece, right? Like that's basically it. That's such a good point. Like if they could get like just like an old Looney Tune or something kind of animator, or just even like a consultation thing, you know what I mean? Like like what are some of the keys to make it really feel like a cartoon, like an old cartoon, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Real quick, I just want to jump to some chats real quick because I saw some good ones. Earlier, whenever we were talking about the anime earlier, I know Kev DOG, one of our boy.
Kev DOG.
Yeah, shout out to Kev. He said Gear 5 anime watch through is going to be a party every weekend, and that I totally agree with. That's 100%.
Dak, let me ask you this: Would you go to a theater and pay $15 to watch that Gear 5 episode?
I would pay twice as much as I saw for Film Red. I'm on it. I'll be honest. I'll do it.
Dude, I would pay like $50 to be a part of that experience.
I'll go to AMC. I'll get the middle seats that are more expensive now. They just announced that the middle ones are more expensive, and I'll go to the IMAX, and I'll go to the mid. I'll do all the things that I need to do, whatever it takes to get the prime experience. Yes, yeah. It's like, and I mean, and not trying to diss Film Red, but like, I mean, like the episode where Gear 5 is revealed is gonna feel better than probably any movie, you know what I mean? Because it's canon. It's gonna feel like a movie anyway, you know.
To me, episode 1015 is better than any One Piece movie in every regard, and that's because it's the source material, like the canon material. And you're right.
Yes.
Gear 5 gets that same adaptation. There's gonna be nothing One Piece related that surpasses that. No movie, no.
And Kev just brought this up because this is where I was going to head to next. Was he said, imagine a watch party of people watching it at the theater, which that's something I've been thinking about is. And I'm loosely planning it, so I mean, whatever. If you want to do it, don't feel like you have to, because obviously everyone should enjoy this however they want to. But I kind of want to get like a group creator reaction going. You know what I mean? Get like a couple, like, because also you can. I know Parvision does this, where like you can like make the people connect to your Crunchyroll, so like they can literally like it'll pause and go whenever you start. So anyway,
that's dope.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting that set up, get all the creators hooked up, so we're all watching the same exact thing. Everyone at home's at the same moment we are. Get that all set up. And then, so that's something I've been loosely thinking about, because I thought that too. If we could all get at a theater, that would, just think about how cool that would be. So maybe mimic that a little bit. But I mean, either way, I think there's definitely going to need to be, there's going to be tons of reaction videos and collabs talking about,
all over the place. Like I remember for the biggest of episodes and chapters, they always do this, but I've never seen more reactions to One Piece than I have that 10-15 week, because I saw like it was just everywhere, and people were doing it from the comfort of their own home. Where you got to see like 8-10 people all reacting to it together, and this is all different languages, right? Like people in Spanish, French, German. I saw it all. And to me, that's so special. Like I always talk about the universal language of Go Raw, Fire, and Peak, but for me, what that represents is something that's happening that's so phenomenal that it breaks all language barriers. And Gear 5th is that to the point to where if a watch party were to happen like that, like content creator watch party, you're just hanging out with your friends and watching it all together. That to me is what makes experiences like that so special. And so if we have a lot of those happening for that chapter's adaptation, it's just going to make it even more special than it already is. I love that idea that you have.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and shout out to Kev too, because he said it before I even mentioned it. So, but no, I agree that breaking the language barrier to me is one of the craziest things that has, like, for me, that has happened with One Piece. Is like, it's even funny, like some of my friends who, whenever they start One Piece, they're like, I gotta watch the dub. Like I don't want to watch people speak Japanese, or what. Like, I don't want to read subtitles. And then eventually they like try one, and like they get into the story, and then they're eventually, like they want to listen to the Japanese version and read it, because they're like, man, like it's like a totally different feel. It's like these people love it and everything, but it's like it's a totally different feel. So it's just funny how it's just like that globalness of it, And I think another way to think about that is, I also mentioned in that video that you mentioned, where the Olympics and the World Cup, right? Like, all these people are from different countries, but you still see One Piece finding a way to make its way there, right? Like, you see the One Piece flag at the World Cup. You see 3 different people do One Piece poses, right? It's like
they did the gear second, gear third.
Yes. Oh, like that like togetherness, that like community feel where you don't even know the people or live near them and all that, but like I said earlier, like once you find out they like One Piece, it's just like, oh, we're homies. Like those people who did the One Piece poses, I have no idea who they are, and I'll never meet them, but I can feel pretty confident that if I ever ran into them, we would talk for an hour plus, hours. No problem, like
no problem, dude.
Yes, exactly, man. That's one of my favorite parts about One Piece, man. The community, and like I said earlier, like for every creator has a kind of a different spin, and it's crazy that we have hundreds at this point of creators making content on the same story that's been around for 30 years, but everyone's able to have a different spin, a different style. Right. There's reasons you want to go check out different people. So absolutely. The community side is just crazy to One Piece, man. It's definitely the best.
If I could comment on that for a second.
Yeah.
The community aspect for me is what makes this the one, right? Like I'm in a lot of different communities in regards to like the video game stuff, the sports stuff, whatever. None of them even come close. But it's also because of my personal attachment to the series. But it's also because I know what we have here. What we have here is a lot of talented individuals that, rather than having their skills be utilized as performers, as editors in a big budget movie, as script writers in something else, they're using their talents and their skills for our beloved series. Because there's so many talented and skilled creators in the community that sometimes I'm in awe at the fact that all of us, like you said, are covering the same series from so many different perspectives. Because we all talk about so many different things, bring up so many different ideas, and then combine with our individual comment sections that all of us have our own separate communities that they bring up their own ideas. And when we bring that all together for stuff like the Reveries, it's just, you really get to see how powerful and incredible this community is. And I think my favorite part about the One Piece community is how open it's been from the moment that I got here 10 years ago. It's the same exact community in regards to when someone comes in and they are either getting into the series or they're already caught up, they're welcomed with open arms.
Yes.
I can't tell you the amount of people that will go out and mod for other people who are catching up to the series and ensure that they do everything in their lives to make sure they don't get spoiled. There's no other community that does that.
The journey is so sacred to One Piece fans. Sacred. Like, one of my friends just started. Like, he's literally like, he just met Sanji, right? And I've been trying to get him to start forever. He likes other anime. He just thought One Piece was too long, whatever. And one of the things he told me was like, all right, man, I'm only on episode whatever. Don't spoil me. And I'm like, oh, you have no idea how important the journey. Like, that would be so sacrilegious for me. Like anytime my friends are getting caught up and they tell me something, before I say anything, I'm like, what episode are you on? And
That's right. I did the same thing.
Yep. I go check the episode. I'm like, okay, he saw this. And I'm like, dude, how about Kaido? All this stuff. So, dude, 100%, man. it's literally just like sacrilegious at this point, but it's like an unspoken thing. That's what's awesome about One Piece, right? It's not like people even get shamed. I mean, they would, but it's not even like you have to go there, because everyone, once you get done with the journey, it's like, oh, everyone needs this experience. I can't ruin it for them. So yeah, man, 100%. Real quick, I just want to bounce to some super chats real quick. Getting a little behind on those. So my man, Mr. Bushido, thank you, Mr. Bushido, for the €2 super chat. Cartoon sound effect. He said that whenever we were talking about Gear 5th and getting the animators, awesome. That we need those. I want the classical, like, I mean, as old as you can get, you know, type of sound effects.
The Flintstones run.
Yes, stuff like that. Yes. Like whenever Luffy's like in the air because he got hit with the Boro breath, and then like he runs on the air like on fire or whatever to get back. I need to hear like the footstep. You know what I'm talking about. You know. Brandon King, thank you for the $2 super chat.
Brandon King.
Yo, Brandon King's a good. It's so funny. I was talking about communities. I told Brandon King this whenever I first started too. I knew Brandon King's name from other comment sections because I had watched so many other creators, and I was like, oh yeah, like Brandon King's here. Like I know him. You know what I'm saying? I was so pumped. But he said, I need Studio MDHR Cuphead for Gear 5.
Oh,
yes,
that would be perfect. Have you seen? I think I still have the picture, bro. Somebody drew that fight in. Go read the next chat. I'm gonna try to find this for you.
Let's do it
because it was amazing. Let me see. Where is it?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah, Cuphead would be literally perfect.
I found it. Dude, look at this. So this was back whenever we still thought his hair was gold. But man, look at that.
Oh, that's it. That's amazing. That's it. Can everyone see? I think everyone can see that pretty well. Oh man. That's it. I want, even if it's just for like 5 minutes of the episode, you know what I mean? Like just to like for the initial part of the Gear 5th fight, just to show how cartoony it is. And then because we've seen slightly different art styles in some of the recent anime episodes for like small snippets of time, you know what I mean? Like a very unique style. So I want to see that. I want to see just for at least a small snippet of time. That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
Shout out to Yuri Padilha for being the fan artist of that. It was when I saw that, I immediately saved it. It's amazing. This is fire. Man,
Kev just sent me another one. I don't want to make the stream fall apart by trying to pull it up, but everyone, there's I've gotten a few more. Man, yeah, that's amazing. We need that. Like definitely. I mean, that's the feel of it. You know, like that would definitely set the tone.
So I'll pull up Cavs real quick. Look.
Yep, that's it. That's it. That's it.
This is so good, man. This is so good.
that's phenomenal, man. I got another 5-year super chat from my boy Mr. Bushido. Thank you. I like Gear 5, but feel it will be overused. There are some bad side effects. We had our fun, but now it's time to scale it back. Yeah, I will say that it is kind of weird because Gear 5 seems so strong that it's like, can Luffy just pop into that anytime now and just, you know, mop the floor with anyone pretty much? Which like there should be bad side effects, which we've seen him, you know, get like all old looking temporarily, but he also does bounce back, you know what I mean? So like when the anime comes out, I want them to go hog wild, but I do think it's interesting how Oda's going to tackle it going forward, because it's like, I mean, it's kind of like really OP. Like anyone he fights can just get low. I mean, Lucci was a perfect, like Lucci immediately, you know, I mean, he's awakened. So yeah.
I think the last chapter is actually starting to show the side effects, because I just remembered back to Impel Down, Marineford. Luffy's a runner, and he does not get tired. Like, he run, bro.
That's true.
The man went from the top of Impel Down to the bottom and right back up. And of course, he got the hormone thing. But if he would have never got hurt by Magellan, he would have made that run. He ran through all of Marineford. Like, he does not get tired. And I think Oda made it really clear that something is happening here. That Luffy's really, really exhausted for just trying to find Vegapunk.
That's such a good point. I didn't think about it that way. You're right.
And I think that we're starting to see Gear 5 side effects. It's just we couldn't see it at first because, just like with Blackbeard, the power high was so strong from getting the initial ability that even that Luffy sleeping for a week after using the thing brought him right back up to shape. Now he doesn't have that luxury of sleeping for a week. So he used Gear 5 and he can't sleep. He hasn't eaten anything, so he's really tired.
That is, I didn't think about it that way, but that's such a good point. Like like Luffy's not gonna get tired from running. Like, so like I ran a marathon before. I ran the Columbus Marathon, and like you don't like your legs get tired. You don't really like once you get in like really good shape, you don't like get out of breath like that. You know what I mean? Like your legs get tired and stuff. But Luffy's obviously in great shape, like obviously. Yeah. And you're right, he's gassed. It's like he shouldn't, like, yeah, it might be saying like, oh, I'm kind of pooped from running around. That's one thing, but he's like head back, gasping, like he just got done doing like sprints at the end of practice. You know,
it's like he just finished fighting Kaido again. You know, he's mad tired, like, really tired.
That is an excellent point. It's almost like a Chekhov's gun in a way, because it's like that's not normal, man. That's. Yeah. We're definitely gonna get back to that. We're gonna get into 1074 pretty deep here soon, but I want to get back on these super chats. But that's amazing. Shout out to Good Vibes for being a member for 3 months. Thank you, member of the Afro Gang. Appreciate you.
I love that Afro Gang.
Afro Gang. So got the. Are you aware of most of my theories? I think you heard the Mole Gang and the Mole theory at the Reverie, but.
Both the Mole and the Afro.
Okay.
The main two that I know, which are both. I love them.
All right, those are the ones you need to know. So that's good. That's good. Maybe we'll talk about those a little bit too. Okay. But and then Axe D Charlotte said, "I love y'all in this community. Shout out Mole Gang and King Recon. Thank you, appreciate you. Shout out to the Mole Gang for sure. That was really my my I don't even know my first step, my lottery ticket. That was really par like that and everyone else, and that's awesome. I'm glad everyone vibes with that theory. And then Mr. Bushido, thank you again for the €2 super chat. Lucci's still awake. Luffy too tired to fight. I do wonder when Lucci's going to get back up, because he's not. I mean, it can't be permanent, and that would be interesting. Temporary. Yeah, like Lucci.
I think there's a reason why they're specifically there in front of Luffy and Zoro.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder what Oda's going to have in store for when they do get up, and if Luffy's still extremely tired and Zoro's fresh, because he's still fresh. So I wonder what he would do. Everyone else is gone. It's just 2v2, Lucci and Kaku, Luffy and Zoro. Like, I wonder if by then Luffy would get his energy back, or is that going to be the quote unquote, you know how every arc has a timer? We're currently on a timer for trying to figure all this out before Kizaru and St. J. Garcia Saturn get here. But even on top of that, the timer of Luffy getting, once again, like the Gear 4 thing, we're getting enough time to get his Haki back.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's enough time to get his energy back, or his breath back or whatever. So I wonder what he's going to do with that, because it's really curious how he specifically left just Luffy and Zoro there to keep track of Kaku and Lucci.
Yes, and also Zoro doesn't usually like listen when people say, oh, you're gonna get lost, don't go. He almost always says screw it, or he'll like change direction like that. Like I remember in Ennie's lobby, he was like running the complete opposite way, and Chopper's like, go this. So like I remember like sometimes he'll listen somewhat, but he never just says, all right, I won't move. Like he never does that, right? He always like, remember in Wano, like when they were going up the mountain or whatever early on in Wano, and he saw a tiger thing, like there's always something. It's always something. But you're right, like here we have Luffy who's gassed, which is abnormal, and then Zoro who doesn't normally stay behind, and that's abnormal. And one other thing is Chopper or someone mentioned that like Luffy, you ran around so much that you broke your shoes.
Yeah, that was Chopper that said that.
Yeah, so that's like,
which was really weird. I was like, wait, what?
that's going to be important, I think, because here's what I've been thinking is those shoes are like magnets, right? Like, or they can operate as magnets. So what if like at some point, right. So at some point maybe Vegapunk's going to be like, all right, the plan is like everyone, I'm going to bolt you to the ground, and then I'm going to make everyone else like fly away. And then Luffy's like, wait, and then so Luffy gets separated. Yes,
that's genius, dude. And wait, but would that imply everyone else goes ahead and Luffy stays behind? What would that even mean for the story?
Exactly. It build up to another Marineford situation.
Ooh.
You know, like imagine if Vegapunk does that, and it's Luffy, Kizaru, Jay Garcia, and everyone going like because Luffy's like, oh wait, I don't have shoes, and so they all go together, and Luffy's like, well, all right, like I'm stuck with the two of the strongest people I could possibly be stuck with, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think Egghead has a lot of Sabaody vibes as it is.
It does.
So
it does.
I mean, and actually the Mark IIIs, right? That's very much Sabaody to me, because they're deploying all the pacifistas. That's the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so actually, I want to ask you what you think is going to happen with the Mark IIIs, because my thought during the chapter reaction was that their plot relevance is going to be to get fodderized by Jay Garcia. Like, they're going to line up on the beach, and he's going to be just Thanos snap, just they're all blow up, something like that.
I am 100% there with you. I think they were built up in this chapter to be used by Jay Garcia in one of two ways. Number one, like you said, a Thanos snap to get blown up, or number two, now we're gonna figure out if the hierarchy that they brought up earlier in Egghead is exclusive to the Seraphims, or is it also for the pacifistas? Because imagine Jay Garcia looks at the pacifistas and he's just like, "What are y'all doing looking at me? Go after Centauro, go after Vegapunk, because he's at the highest of the hierarchy."
Oh man!
So then, whatever it is, the Mark IIIs and they're gonna be used to build hype for Saint Jay Garcia Saturn, because either he gets the Mark IIIs under him or he demolishes them in one blow. Either way, Garcia hype.
Yeah,
so.
And also during your chapter, dude, I watched part of your reaction before this, but then I ran out of time. But dude, I was cracking up when you said, "Are we gonna meet what'd you say, Saint Recon Rodriguez Jupiter?" Or is it? Yeah. bro, that was so funny. JD Legend, shout out to Jay. He got a massive dub. One of the Gorosei has Jay in the name. We gotta get Recon. We gotta get some other ones.
It was actually Jay that named me that, because when that chapter dropped, I was talking about Jay, and he popped up in the chat, and he was like, "Yeah, the next one's Recon Rodriguez." I love that.
Dude, that's so funny. Recon Rodriguez is honestly kind of hype. Like, that's a great name. That's a great name. Like, really nice. And it fits very well too, right? Like Garcia and Rodriguez, like, you know what I'm saying? Like exactly. It's perfect, man. That's so funny. Yeah. That's so funny.
What do you actually? I mean, not to get off topic, but what do you think Oda's leading with that? How now now that we've seen Don Quixote, Garcia, now that we're really starting to get into some Spanish sounding names,
yes.
What do you think is the reasoning? Boy,
so
that's kind of crazy.
So I'm gonna butcher a little of this, but I know that I know someone brought up a really good like story of how this all ties together, and like I guess I'm gonna butcher some of it, but loosely. So the One Piece year is like 1522, right? And like the Spanish, in some Spanish war, I can't remember. I'm not good at history, guys. I'm good at One Piece history. Right. The Spanish Inquisition was also 1522, right? So like that is insane, right? Like all these Spanish leaders are like seem to be celestial dragons, and the Spanish Inquisition or whatever was the same year, like 1522. Yeah. So it's like, maybe we can look at that, like the history behind that, and take some elements like, how did that go down, and like who were the leaders of the Spanish Inquisition? Maybe that tells us where these guys came. And
great point.
But now that's specifically with the Spanish side, but now obviously they have the planet side too, which is a whole other thing. So I think roughly speaking, it's going to be, since they have planets, it's going to be like, instead of them coming from another country to like take over another country, it's going to be they came from another planet to take over this planet. You know what I'm saying? Which
is very, very interesting, considering that must be the reason why Oda has been. I know it's the reason why Oda's been the ancient weapons, but it's also very interesting in regards to showing us more about the Gorosei, because even just showing one of, could you imagine us not having the context of Egghead Island or of Robin's flashback, and we heard, like, let's just say when they were originally introduced, the Gorosei back in Jaya, and we heard Saint Jay Garcia Saturn. We wouldn't have put the pieces together because the pieces weren't there to put together, right? Like, Oda had to set the table for us to now understand, like, yo, there is a genuine possibility that these individuals, like, we look back at Sabari, we remember the Celestial Dragons coming with astronaut suits, and perhaps it wasn't just having astronaut suits so they wouldn't breathe the same air as others. Like, the fact that there's another potential piece of information there of now them planet, which, if we start getting other planets involved in this, I wonder how deep,
dude, I mean, Space Piece, in my opinion, is real. I've been talking about Space Piece even before all this stuff happened. Like, some of my biggest theories are tying to that, and I think, I mean, man, like, I mean, the sky isn't even the limit. It's the limit's past the sky at this point, And so I mean, between Toon Piece and Space Piece, who knows? Like, shout out to Par. I see Par Visions in the chat. If anyone goes and looks, love Par. We love Par around here for sure.
Hashtag I love Par Visions.
Yeah, we're gonna get Par on one of these streams here soon too. He's already been on once on a different stream, but don't worry, we're gonna get him on. But But if you go look at Par's latest thumbnail, that's an example of what I think we could see. It's literally like Joy Boy in the sky grabbing on the planets because he can turn them to rubber and make himself whatever size he will. You know what I mean? There's so many possibilities.
If Luffy does that, oh, bro, I'm not a power scaler. I would turn into a power scaler.
You have to.
I'm going into every Dragon Ball and Naruto thing, and I'll be like, yo, who's boxing Luffy? He's throwing planets.
Yeah, like, and honestly, this just popped in my head. But I mean, I'm probably reaching here, but remember when we first met Garp and he was throwing cannonballs with his hands, like, because they were like normal speed? Luffy's in space throwing planets and moons and stuff like they're cannonballs, and like Emu's just a giant thing. And I mean that's to me, that's like where Oda's mind is going. Like, let me make the most mind-blowing, like, impossible situation. But the beauty is, like, let's say he does that, like Luffy makes himself giant, he's throwing planets at Emu's like, you know, shooting star beams, you know, all this kind of stuff. The crazy part to all that is that it won't feel out of place because Oda has built up so much, you know, behind the scenes. It's like we can see the tendrils of all this building, and like by the time it would get there, it would make sense. Like, it would be amazing and mind-blowing, but like it wouldn't feel out of place. It'd be like, this is One Piece. Like, this is the ending. This is perfect, you know. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that's like my expectation, because I don't want to make my expectations that high, but I know something spacey is going to happen, you know, at some point.
Dude, you know, I've been talking about it from, especially whenever we went to Skypiea, you know, and now with Egghead context, the NL cover story, I've always wondered if it was a possibility, because obviously this is an adventure story above anything else. Anything else in his adventure story, and I've always believed that at some point we would be going heavily, like, somewhere underground, which is why I love your that I do believe we still have some sort of way to enter near the core of Earth. Like, I still think there's an area there to explore.
Yes.
Because I feel like in order to truly have this massive adventure story that's going to encapsulate everything, we need to reach down to the very bottom, and we need to go to the top of space. So I do believe right there with you that one day, whether it be Moon Piece or other planet piece, whatever it is, or the Thousand Suns, Frankie and Vegapunk make it to where it can go up to space. I need that. That is adventure.
Man, that's so crazy you said all those things, because I 100% agree, and my last video was about Uranus, and I think Uranus was basically the conduit to take people to space, like, because like Poseidon is like helping people travel in the sea. I talk about Pluton potentially, you know, being underground, having tunnels, helping people traverse there. Well, we need a sky traveling thing, and I think that's what Uranus is going to be. So you're talking about, we're going to go to the core of the Earth, and then we got to go upwards as well. Uranus can either take you to the moon or even beyond. Like, maybe Uranus is how people got to Earth to begin with, you know what I mean? And then you also mentioned the Frankie thing, and that's actually my next video, so I just thought that was really crazy, because I agree. The anti-gravity technology that we saw early on in Egghead, I've been saying since day one, like, that Frankie is going to get that, and then we go to the moon. Like, it's that simple. Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be that, but that Oda just showed us the simplest two-step, like, one chapter, and we'll be ready, you know what I'm saying? So
do you think that's next, or Elbaf? Moon or Elbaf? What do you think?
I think Elbaf leads to the moon. That's my, because remember that.
So we go to the moon, we get information, and we go to Elbaf.
No.
I'm sorry, Elbaf, then information, then moon.
Exactly. Like, I think we're gonna go to Elbaf, and there's gonna be a reason to go to the moon. Like I have a, like, for example, maybe the last road poneglyph was put on the moon after we saw it. You know what I mean? Someone put it for safekeeping on the moon. So
no wonder nobody could get the laugh tail.
Yeah, like Roger's like, you know what? Like, why don't I just do this? You know, like, I'll just move it. Like, or so he has someone. Maybe it could be that, let's say Uranus was in that egg that Roger had. Maybe after it hatched, Scopper Gabon or whoever is like, Uranus, let's go take that poneglyph up so they don't, you know, so nobody gets it. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, it could be a whole thing, and then so we have to go to the moon to go get that. And also Elbaf, like, the one time we saw it, it looks like it has a really tall tree, and there's all sorts of folklore, like Norse folklore around this. So I think it could also be a thing where we get there, we talk, and it's like, well, just like you climbed the whale tree in Zoe, you got to climb this tree. And so they climb that tree, and that takes them up to the sky. You know what I'm saying?
Man, it would be like the Jack and the Beanstalk thing you did in Skypiea.
Yes, exactly.
To the next level.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I think that's my guess. But I will say, no matter what, I think that's the next two things are going to be, well, Elbaf is definitely coming, and then space. I mean, I guess space could come later, but Oda's gotta at least start talking about it, in my opinion, soon. You know what I mean? Because it's almost like with Nika. Like we didn't even hear about Nika until I think it was like 10-17 or whatever it was with Who's Who. If that's right, that's crazy. I remember that. But but and then so almost like a year later, like 9 months later, 10 months, whatever it was, then we get Gear 5th. Fruit, sun god Nika fruit, essentially. So it's like Oda always does that. He's always gonna like give a little bit of a precursor leading up, so it's not like a sudden like, whoa, like all this stuff just came out of nowhere. So I think he's soon gonna talk about space travel in some way, like just hint at it, and maybe it was just the grab thing, maybe Vegapunk will say, if you want, you could go to the moon with this, and then Luffy's like, we'll do that later, or maybe But either way, I think we're gonna get a hint soon.
Or if he does save it for later, then it might be directly tied to Luffy's dream, because let's just say, because it's supposed to be something impossible, like Luffy's dream. I've been thinking about this in regards to what his dream could potentially be, and to our knowledge, no one's ever been able to travel through space. And I think that first to become the king of the world down here, become the king of the pirates, because every time Luffy says that, or whenever I think back to 1016, he says that the stepping stone to my dream is to become the king of the pirates. Like, I need to do that first.
Yes.
Which to me implies like you need to be the king of the sea, right? Like you need to be the king of where we currently inhabit. And
I like that.
And that's always felt like a potential reasoning why I'm right there with you. I would love for us to go to the moon very soon. But if Oda saves it for the end, let's just say, I do believe we're gonna head there. If we don't head there, it's Oda's story, but he might be saving it for the end for that fight we talked about earlier with Imu. Because let's just say, hypothetically speaking, this is Oda we're talking about. Oda never retreads old ground. He never same arc again, right? Yep. So if he's gonna go to space for the finale, it's for the finale.
Exactly. Exactly.
He might save it for that.
Exactly.
We'll see.
I agree. Like whenever we go up there, we're gonna. Like that, we're not going to go back. Like if we go there, it's either we're going to stay there till the end, or like we'll come back just for like a quick wrap up. But it's not like we're going to go to space, come back, and be like, oh, we got to go back to space. Like that's not, what I'm saying. Like maybe it could be where like we go to space, come back, and then Luffy like turns giant and like can just fly. Maybe, but I agree with you. Like the crew, like the first. Like basically what happened with the knock-up stream, right? Like we're not going to go to Sky Island that way twice. Like we're going to go up.
Correct.
If we ever go back, it's going to be something simple, probably. Like the right way to go up or whatever. So I agree with you there for sure. I like what you said about the dream part. I'm probably going to do a video on this eventually, but it's a ways away, so I don't care if the 77 people here hear it. But I think Luffy's dream, and I've said this before, is going to be something tied to the sun or the moon, as far as I want to like leave my mark on the moon or the sun or something like that. And
I love that idea,
because then
leaving the mark on the moon, I love that idea.
Because the moon is one, but the sun is also like even. Either or, because I think both of them have a lot of reason for it. Like the moon, I like the sun because it's more unrealistic, and he's the sun god, so it's like you know what I'm saying. So, the reason why I like it is it's like, have you seen Gurren Lagann before? I won't spoil too much.
Dude. This entire time, I actually didn't bring it up because I didn't know if you watched it. But whenever you were talking about like the battle between Luffy and I was just wanting to yell like Giga Drill Break.
Yo, dude, I love Gurren Lagann, man. Like it's so funny.
One of my favorite series of all time.
And something that happened at the very beginning, so it's not a big spoiler, is like right at the start you meet moles, and so I fell in love immediately. My first channel logo was loosely based on Buta, because I was like, a little mole thing. That's it. Like that's I need to make it look like a One Piece mole. You know what I mean? But yeah. So and so just talking about it loosely, this isn't too big of a spoiler, I guess. Is it's Luffy putting his symbol on the sun or something would then be a symbol to everyone in perpetuity for the rest of time that. Like your dreams are possible. Like never stop dreaming, never stop looking up, never. And so that's the thing, is like that's something that a child like Luffy would think of, right? Like I want to go put something on the sun so people know I'm awesome. You know what I mean? But it's even deeper. But it's way like Luffy's as a child. There's an obvious reason for that, but there's even deeper Oda level things for that, and like future level things.
Bro, remember up until this point, what has been one of the biggest things established with the entire series? Luffy placing flag on something
Yes.
territory. What about if he puts his flag on the moon?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, and so the only reason
I see the vision.
the only reason I say it's not a flag is because Child Luffy, like, it's hard to say because like he did like as soon as he met Shanks. So yes, a mark. That's why I say a mark. Yeah. Maybe it is a flag. Maybe he just paints the same Laboon Straw Hat logo. Yeah. Maybe he just wants to paint the bad Straw Hat logo on the moon. Whatever it is, it's just that same. It's the same idea as Gurren Lagann. Generally speaking, not a too big of a spoiler, but it's all about, you know, looking upward, like you break through the heavens, as like the show, like the whole like slogan of the show is.
Fight the power.
Yes, exactly. And one of my favorite quotes from the show, by the way, is the "Believe in the me that believes in you" line. That is that is so One Piece-esque. You know what I mean? Like one of my oldest memories of just being like a One Piece fan and watching YouTube and stuff is I was watching Randy Troy, who's one of my all-time goats. Shout out to Randy. And one of my oldest memories, this is probably like right after Randy got like a couple thousand subs. Like I was there early, and I can't remember when, but it was in Wano, and he mentioned in Ennie's lobby. Sanji and Usopp have a little discussion where it's like, you do what you can do and I do what I can do. You know what I mean? It's like you are good at this. We all know you're good at this. You go do that. You know, it's that same thing. I
love that scene.
Yeah. And so just building off of that. And so I think that's it. It's like, you know, Luffy doing that to the sun or the moon would just give everyone that feel of belief in themselves and like everything's possible. So that's why I love it. Yeah. That's been my idea for a little while.
It would be Luffy's because it has to tie into Roger's dream, right? And Roger's dream, Roger left a mark on the rest of humanity where they were now chasing after something he left behind. Now everyone would chase after what Luffy left behind, attempting to get to the same place he went to, which would then fuel a brand new era of dreams. And I love your idea, dude. That's some good stuff.
That's such a good point, because it's like a stepping stone where Roger had everyone go out and look everywhere on the Earth, like, hey, somewhere on this planet there is something that's going to take things even further, and then Luffy's going to find it and be like, you know what, Roger, thank you, because now everyone can go do even more, because like the One Piece I think the One Piece is gonna like break the red line, I mean, and do many other things, but that'll be like one of the main things, is it breaks the red line and makes the world more free.
It makes the world more free, it makes travel easier, and it would make the entire world an ocean. Sanji's dream, the all blue. Stuff like that.
And that's a big reason why I like the Afro theory, is because like Brook in chapter 1060, whenever we saw the swirling eddy in the sky, like that Bonnie was inside of, it's a swirling ball of water in the air. That is literally what Earth is. And Brook is like, oh, it looks like an Afro. Like,
he did say that.
Yeah, it's like, does it, Brook? And then and also in the last chapter, Brook was dripped out and he had the helmet with the antenna, and I'm like, I think the Afro is gonna like have like a Punk Records feel, like you're gonna like it's gonna download information. You know what I'm saying? Like the Afro has the info stored, and so if you put the Afro on, that's how you learn the true history, and that's
crazy.
And so the antenna is another good point, because if you put an Afro on, you look like an antenna, right? You're a human with like a ball at the top, you know, so you look like an antenna. And so Brook has an antenna on his Afro helmet, which is like a whole, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't know, man. Hey, the way Afros could potentially tie to the end game.
To the end game.
Yeah, Gaimon, man.
Gaimon, I've said it so many times, man. That might end up being one of the most important chapters / characters in this series by the time we look back on it.
I agree, and I think something that's like not said a lot is he has a green Afro, and so I was just talking like this swirling eddy is like the Earth, because it's a swirling ball of water, which is 75% of what Earth is, right, or whatever. Well, the other part of that would be green, right? Like the Earth is basically a green and blue swirling ball, right? And so we have swirling balls of water getting compared to Afros. We have Gaimon with a literal green Afro that like represents the other part, and his name is Gaimon, and that's like Gaia is almost in the beginning of that, you know what I'm saying?
True.
And so that makes the whole Afro is the world feel that much deeper. Yeah, Gaimon. Hey, man.
Gaimon is endgame. That's it.
Yeah, people are sleeping on Gaimon, but all right, I want to move into chapter 1074. Oh wait, real quick, just because I just saw another super chat I missed. Sorry about that, Bushido.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bushido. He said, carrot hint in this chapter, I will have the last laugh. I don't know if you saw that, but there was a like a great value carrot in the chapter.
I did see the great valued carrot in the background.
Yes.
With Sentomaru.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Bushido is the #1 carrot fan, and I respect it because it's a tried and true, love the character type situation. So even though I don't like carrot, I want it to happen because I know Bushido would freak out if carrot came back. Which
I respect Bushido.
Yeah, which he's coming back eventually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. The end game importance for any member of the Alliance, especially people like Carrot, is going to be insane. I can't imagine how incredibly cool Sulong Carrot, especially now that we have the Nika white hair back to back, like Luffy and Carrot. That's gonna be one of the most cool, one of the most fire spreads.
And so,
ever, right?
And so, actually, building off of that, before we get into chapter 1074, this is more like 1073 or 1072 stuff, but it's very important. Tying to the white hair and the red eyes and stuff like that, we've seen 3 examples of this. You mentioned 2 of them, the Gear 5th, the Sulong, but also Hody whenever he ate the energy steroids, right? And so an interesting tie to the energy steroids that I brought up a couple weeks ago, but I feel like ever since we found out that Bakken is the real Buckingham, this has kind of got left in the dust. But I brought this up a lot originally where if you go back to Whole Cake, Stucy met up with Dufeld, who started Mads, by the way. That was Stucy's introduction, and she does like a remote finger pistol thing to hurt him, and he drops the Tamate Bako, and that's what it blows up the chateau, and that's how everything starts. So right there we have Stucy, who's based off a former Rocks pirate, going for the Tamate Bako for some reason, right? And so that's an interesting thing to me because, like I said, we've seen these other examples of this white hair and red eye thing, and I think it's really interesting that she was going for it because, I mean, that's just to me in general. It's did the Rocks pirates know about that? Because lineage factor carries forward even in clones, right? The Seraphim have combat lineage factor. So to me, I was wondering, well, the first time we meet Stucy, she's going for the Tamate Bako. Is that a lineage factor thing? The past Buckingham Stucy was going for that as well, or the Rocks pirates in general, you know what I'm saying? And so, and one interesting tie into that, which this got disproven unfortunately, but I still think it's going to be important, is Higurashi in Wano was able to become what is probably Miss Buckingham Stucy. She was changing faces. She was Shiki and some other people. And she was also a woman that, and there's a woman that is probably who Miss Buckingham Stucy. It looks pretty similar. So too. But think about Higurashi. She was all wrinkled up, right? It's she almost looked like she had energy steroids and she was after the fact, right? And so I think that's just to me, I feel like those energy steroids are going to come back in a massive way soon, because it's kind of weird how much those were they brought up in Fishman Island, we saw them and everything, and they have not been discussed at all, but they make people look like they're in Gear 5th. Obviously that's important. They it's very important. Someone and they're 800 years old, right? They've had the Tamate Bako forever. So it's what was happening 800 years ago?
It's intentional, and I know it's intentional because that was the same arc where Joy Boy was first introduced. When Oda was coming up with these ideas and concepts, because remember in this series, at this point in time, we're seeing a lot of individuals creating things counter other things, right? The Seraphim, the Giants from back in the day were the premier race. So right now we're trying to the world government's trying to gigantify children. And in order to have these incredible combatants right now, for that very reason. So for their biggest threat in Joy Boy, then why wouldn't the world try to recreate that through several different means, trying to force it out, right, with the energy steroids? And I do think that there's a lot of stuff in Fishman Island's endgame. You're talking Shirley's Prophecy, you're talking the Noah, you're talking Joy Boy's Apology, potentially the Tamate Bako box, like you said, and also now with the most recent revelation in the 200 years ago, the Iron Giant went up there. That was around the same time.
Yes.
Of what happened in the Fishman Island flashback as well. So it's man, Fishman Island is Skypiea, where by the time we finish the series, and how much stuff did this man throw in there that was endgame?
Bro,
it's crazy.
I'm so glad you said that, because in my Uranus video, I made a similar comparison where Fishman Island is the reverse of Skypiea in a way, right? They're ancient kingdom related countries and all that, but the one difference is that obviously Poseidon was in Fishman Island and we didn't have an ancient weapon that at least we're aware of in Sky Island, and that's a lot of what my theory is about. Is, you know, the like Sky Island, it has all the ancient history. Roger went up there, and when Roger went up there, like at least the version that we saw, like with Odin, he went straight to the Poneglyph. We didn't see him talk to anybody.
Yeah.
The Shandians fight anyone that comes near their ruins. You know what I'm saying? Like so what's going on? How does Roger get up there? Obviously, important stuff is going on that we don't even know. Like even though we've been there, whenever we were there, Enel and Robin were talking, and Robin's like, "Where's the giant bell at?" And then Enel said something like, "Wait, what are you talking about? Like what giant bell?"
Yeah,
like he doesn't know. And so how did Roger get up there 20 years ago when you know what I'm saying? Like if Enel didn't find it in his whole time leading there. So so you know, just basically, I think, you know, going, like we're talking about the Thematic Bako earlier, but I think, you know, that is like a fake way to achieve gear 5th in a sense. You know, you're kind of cheating the system. But then we go to Skypiea, like where the sun god was mentioned, and we saw the Nika pose for the first time. So it's like, maybe gear 5th or Nika or whatever originated in the sky, quote unquote, or you know what I mean? Just like that's where we first saw of it. And then we actually get the name so sun god in the sky. We hear about Joy Boy in the sea. It's like no matter, like there is something going on.
Dude, you're right. Look, remember, so now we have direct confirmation. Not just I never really thought about. Joy Boy's apology was down in the sea. In the sky, the sun god, of course, is with the over there in Sky Island. But also in Big Mom's flashback, they bring up the sun god in Elbaf.
Oh, that's
so now
true.
we have direct correlation that every single phase of the planet knew Joy Boy.
That's so true.
So Elbaf knew Joy Boy, Skypiea knew Joy Boy, and Fishman Island knew Joy Boy.
Lunarians also knew about Joy Boy. Remember he called and just while it's on top of my head, you brought up we need to like go to the center of the earth or whatever. Yeah. I think Lunarians are actually from the center of the earth. I don't think, because like it's a name that throws, because like so the people that are from the moon were the sky races with white wings. You know what I'm saying? So why would the Lunarians, even if they have the name that hints it's from the moon, why would they have black wings? It's because they can live in any condition because they're from the center of the earth. They're from where it's like that. So
that would explain so much.
I love that connection.
Yeah, dude, the Lunarian thing, because I've been thinking a lot about like the fact that they were once known as like the race that lived above the red line and whatnot. So that's implying that something similar must have happened with Skype, where it was shot up there,
yes,
kind of like a volcano shot it up there to the sky, or the land that was once up there was brought down, and that's the land we're gonna see, like down at the center of the earth. Like maybe it was brought down once again, or something. So I'm curious.
Well, and I think another layer that's really interesting to this is, remember when we went to, or whenever we saw Enel on the moon, Enel found ruins inside the moon. Like you know, like and then he brought everyone back to life with the electricity. So it's like, so we have seen that there are like civilizations underground in different places. You know what I mean? So to me, that hints that
Lagan.
Yeah, exactly. There you go, exactly. And so that could tell me that, you know, and tying back to Gurren Lagann, which it's mini spoiler. I don't think anyone would really get spoiled, but it's maybe the Lunarians. You know, like the name hints they're from the moon. But maybe they were forced to stay underground. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be that type of situation, like where they like they were the gods of the world supposedly. So what if like maybe like they've started underground and at some point, you know, took back over, and then the people like wanted to, you know, like celestial dragons from outer space or whatever. It's like celestial dragons to me would be like a step up of Lunarians, in the sense of like the name Lunarian hints you're from the moon and you can control fire and all this stuff and even make like magma dragons with your fire. But a celestial dragon is probably that and then some, right? Like I brought this up. We didn't see Kaido awaken, or at least confirmed, and he was covered in magma at the very end. Well, what if actual celestial dragons cover themselves in like star power? You know what I'm saying? Like plasma. Like it's like a step up, right? So it's like, it could be like the Lunarians were like just not, I guess, as evolved is a way to put it, because Vegapunk's brought up like furthest branch of evolution is what devil fruits are type stuff. So it could be a similar thing where like the Lunarians were like a step down in evolution to like true celestial dragons. Like in the past they may have been like actual, you know, like the name meant something, and now they're just the people we know. You know what I mean?
So actually, I like that so much that, do you think that's why, going back to 1074, do you think that's why within this little miniature Kuma flashback that's implying that Kuma is all slave to the celestial dragons, that this is the main reason why Oda from us for so long, like that type of information, because it is so directly tied to potential like Egghead, future / past stuff with the Celestial Dragons.
Yeah,
based on that little flashback.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm really glad you brought that flashback up because, first off, yeah, I think it's so hard to say because with the way Oda's setting everything up with the Kuma flashback in particular, which by the way, that might be a top 3 flashback once we get the full thing. I like I said it in the stream, like even Bonnie had to nope out of there. You know, like the flashback was so sad, like that. Yeah. Oda was like, guys, you guys, like, look, Bonnie's showing you guys aren't ready. You know, like you guys aren't ready for it. So
dude, just those 2 pages had me on the brink of tears.
Yes.
I was like, man, like this is hitting because the thing is, you know how kind-hearted Kuma is. Like, we have that context. So seeing what he had to go through from such a young age, and then aftermath of the fact that not only was he a slave to these people once again in their homeland, but he's trying to get back up there, and they keep trying to shoot him down. It's just such a tragic. It broke my heart.
I'm so glad dude. The part, I mean, I agree with all that 100%, and especially like, you know, like almost crying on stream, like, damn, like if I wasn't in public trying to like keep a persona, I might actually have to like put the chapter down. But to me, it was like, dude, even the other slaves were coming over and beating him, like, you got to come back. It's like in real life. I think Mr. Bushido chatted about this, which I see your super chats. I'm gonna get to this in a second. But I think he brought it up yesterday, where like, you know, like in real life, like slaves being slave catchers was a thing, right? Like you are so enslaved that you catch other slaves. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so to me, it's like you're saying, like Kuma's such a nice guy, and as we see now, like, you know, for some reason, he opted to become a robot. He's climbing back up to the top of or the red line to get to Marijois for some reason. It's like all this weird stuff is going on, and it's like just to see that quick flashback where he's literally getting beaten, and it's like, come back and be a slave again. Like, you can't do this. And Kuma's like, I just don't want to do this. Like, he's like a kid, you know. And it's like, man, like I just, you know, like Oda. I'm glad Oda only showed us part of it because it is going to be deep. You know, he's got to do it piecemeal. Yeah,
it feels like, because, you know, this chapter obviously was a massive chapter, but that particular section was just stood out so much that we already know now when Bonnie gets back into there, that feels like something that's going to need a dedicated amount of time just to it, because it is so emotional, it is so raw, and it feels like it's going to change our entire perspective. It's going to recontextualize everything that we know about potentially Kuma, Bonnie, Vegapunk, and all, maybe even Dragon if it goes that far back. But whatever happens there is going to hit so deep and so hard that all other stuff aside from a raw emotional standpoint that One Piece is known for, it's going to destroy all of us. Like you said, it has potential to reach the upper echelon, the greatest, like in the Odins and the Law and Khorasan and the Robins and Namis and Chopper flashback, Brook flashbacks.
Yes.
Like, the all-time greatest. Like, it has that type of potential for it, and I can't wait for it.
I agree 1000%. The you know, One Piece to me is, I mean, One Piece is great for a million different reasons, and I mean, everyone has things that they like more than others, but to me, man, the flashbacks, I'm glued to the screen, man. Like, I can't, like, to me, one that I'm actually working on a video on. I've been saying this for like 2 months. I promise it's going to come out eventually, guys. But Noland, to me, Nolan's flashback hits me so, like the whole context of, like, basically it's the way that they even get to the flashback is like or like they're trying to beat NL and all that stuff, and Wiper like doesn't want to help him really, and then Robin brings up Nolan, and he's like, wait, what'd you say? And then he goes to the whole flashback, and then Wiper's like, all right, I'm helping, like that. But the whole flashback where it's like, you know, Nolan's just a nice, smart guy trying to help, and it's like the whole faith versus science thing, and so anyway, I don't want to get to it. We could talk. I could literally have a whole stream dedicated to Nolan.
Same here, especially on that flashback. That flashback is so powerful.
It's insane, dude. Like, so my roommate got me into One Piece, and he really likes Skypiea, and that's one thing that, like, he's always loved his Nolan flashback, and that's like something that, like, I just remember since the first time I watched it, because I watched it with him. I just remember since then I was like, man, that was like that was a good flashback, like that. Man, like, it's my first trip through the journey, and so I don't really have a full grasp of how good the flashbacks are. I was like, damn, like, you know, like I have like I have a bit of a science background professionally, so it's like for me, I get that, and so I'm like, man, I get it, I totally get it, you know. So anyways, what were you gonna say?
My bad. I was just gonna say, every time I think of that flashback, when I think about that flashback, the Odin flashback, these are powerful flashbacks that do so much for the overall core of the series that I feel like those two flashbacks are our biggest hints to what we can expect from the Void Century flashback in regards to, for me, the Void Century flashback, I always believe that that Oda's gonna take a fairy tale type of approach to start it, and then we're gonna go to a classic One Piece fashion. But the Mont Blanc Noland and Kalgara flashback and the Odin flashback, to me, I think are gonna give us the formula for how the Void Century flashback's gonna play out, in particular to how certain thematic things clash. Because, like you said, with the faith versus science thing, I do believe that when we get to the Void Century flashback, because that flashback is gonna tie together the.
Yes.
So when we get to that flashback, I wonder how he's gonna go about it. Specifically, now that we're on the topic of flashbacks, every flashback is different for its own reason. But we know there's certain things he hasn't touched on because he's saving them for that flashback. There's certain things within the series he has not, like he's kept out because of that flashback. So that going back to your point on all of us are always heavily anticipating these flashbacks. Oda's so good at making us want to know the history about something, and then when he shows us that stuff, it somehow surpasses that expectation.
Yes.
For the Void Century, the thing, of us, even people who don't even like flashbacks. I know people who don't like flashbacks, who skip those episodes. Even those individuals are like, I can't wait for the day Robin finds real power.
Yes.
We get the Void Century,
Dude. Just imagine the Joy Boy flashback. Like when we see Joy Boy and we see him against even if Oda teases it like just for 2 panels and we just get to see a silhouette of Joy Boy looking at Emu, I'll lose my mind. 10 out of 10 automatic.
We are gonna dissect those panels more than because for so many years we had like these little bits and Roger flashback here, Roger flashback here, Roger, and then we got a big huge one, and it was legendary. Imagine how we're gonna feel the first real look at Joy Boy. All those go.
Dude. It's gonna be next level. Like, I mean, Gear 5th is great. I mean, all the stuff we've talked about, like the live action and all that. But like I said in my video, the real like meat and potatoes behind why One Piece is growing, why One Piece is awesome, and all that is the actual story. Like Oda just keeps pumping out fire, and so like it's just a constant gas leak. You know what I'm saying? It's constant. Yes. Like Oda's just constantly leaking gas, constant. And so it's just like it just keeps building. You know what I mean? And so like all the stuff's going on, super hype, top tier, whatever. But I mean, it's hard to say it, but if I look at it objectively and subjectively, I guess, like, Oda has all the tools to surpass it in a big way. Like, honestly, the Void Century, Joy Boy, finding out the truth behind the ancient weapons and the Gorosei. Like, man, like, all the, like, the 30 years, like, these main things I've listed, like, beating the world government, Joy Boy, all this, these have been built up for 10, 20 plus years. And we're still like hyped for it. Like that's what's so crazy is like Oda's showing us all this other stuff, and we're like it's just gonna make the end better.
Everything that we get is just hyping us up more for that. Like I'll tell you what, I've never been more excited for the Void Century than coming off of both Wano and Egghead. Because after hearing Zunisha, not only was Zunisha the companion of Joy Boy who committed a crime all those years ago, a hint of what Joy Boy's heart sounded like, the drums of liberation, about the actual character in Nika.
Yes.
And then we cut over to Egghead and we see that the past was the future in regards to they were highly advanced.
Yes.
So it's like now the more hints we get, the more excited I get, because I'm like, how it's like it's surpassing everything I ever had. Because originally I thought he was gonna take like a classic because we know how Oda takes a lot of stuff from real life. So I thought originally the Void Century was going to be taking all of the creation myths and turn them into one piece-ified thing.
Right.
Now I'm like, it's gonna do that, but he's gonna add this entirely new potential post-apocalyptic approach of how the world ended.
Yes.
Which to me is like the coolest thing ever. Like,
yes.
The fact that Instant Messenger Sama potentially plotted all of this to rule the world and erase everything that once was is gonna make like that character one of like the greatest villains ever, because he's been plotting this for over 1,000 years.
Facts, dude. Facts. Dude, it gives me chills even just hearing you talk about it, because it's like it's just like, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying and you put it beautifully, but it's like just anytime someone like makes me think of like what the end is going to look like, it's just like my body knows for a fact, like my heart and soul, I know it's going to be amazing. It's going to like blow my mind. And like you're saying, like we're talking like what is most likely like mass genocide across the entire planet. And we've seen this in bits and pieces. Like, in my opinion, what is one of the most tragic and like hard to watch moments in One Piece, in my opinion, is Dressrosa. Whenever we see King Riku going through the town, controlled by Doflamingo, and swiping his sword on the horse, like, to me, I can barely watch it like that. Like, even though it's One Piece and like whatever, I'm like, man, like I know, like, One Piece is pulling on the heartstrings way too hard. But another one I think is actually the Nolan flashback, because whenever Nolan's getting executed, then at the same time we see that juxtaposed with the island getting sent to the sky, and immediately when they get sent to the sky, they're in a war. Like, immediately the one priest comes out and they start fighting. So I think it's going to be a very similar, just like you know, the second one wasn't as hard to watch, but it's still just like that like genocidal, like whole world just shifted in a moment type feeling, you know what I mean? Like overnight the world changed. It's gonna be that same thing, but it's gonna somehow be just way deeper, way crazier. It's gonna bring things from the beginning of the story that we did not think were going to be relevant, and we're gonna be like, oh my god, how is like I brought up Foxy because Foxy can slow things. I'm like, slow the planet down, then you have water going everywhere and then everyone drowns, you know, like there's so many things that could happen, you know. I can't wait.
It's crazy. And like you're bringing up the whole things that he's already shown, like the fact that we've looked at stuff like the Buster Call at Eni's lobby incident. You know, Emu has immediately just wiped out thousands upon thousands of people because he's been doing it for so long.
Yes.
Right? Like this isn't new. This is something, and we assume values. Like the same thing has happened for so long, and that's why I think Emu's going to be one of the most interesting characters. Or it might be
the most. Yeah, honestly.
The character was introduced with a butterfly on his/her hand, and it's like a butterfly always signifies life and death, right? And it's like, so the balance of life and death is at play here, and you know this character, and it's just I actually talked to Jay about this in regards to like how good Oda is at introducing characters, and I brought up Blackbeard and how magnificent that character introduction was. Perfect. And right next to Blackbeard's is Emu's, because Emu's introduced with the giant straw hat, which is intriguing in of itself, but it's like, what is the connection someone like this would have with giant straw hat? Was Joy Boy a friend? Did he keep it as like a treasure of, I destroyed this guy 100 years ago, so I'm gonna keep it as a keepsake?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different things just there.
Or another layer that I've thought about is, you know, like devil fruits have wills of their own, and also Papagoo said, you know, the whole world runs on willpower. And so to me, it's like what if Emu's like keeping the hat because like if the hat gets out in the open, then people will remember, like somehow, you know, like maybe like people will be like, oh, yeah, like wait, yeah. There's so many things where it's like if people see the hat, maybe that's something, or if they wear it, that's something, or maybe the hat does something and that's why it's frozen. Like it could be a thing where it's like a threat. You know what I mean? Like the hat in and of itself is a threat. Like, but to your point, yeah, like Oda is masterful at the way he introduces people, because all the reasons you said, as well as that was also juxtaposed with Shanks coming to the Reverie, you know. So we're already like, what was happening? And then we see there's someone on the throne, and it's like, whoa, like what's happening? Yep. So
with characters on the ground that we all know are endgame, Shirahoshi, Luffy, and Blackbeard, but Instant Messenger Someone's carrying Vivi. So it's like all these intriguing things, and then the Gorosei, who never bent a knee to everyone. They as far as we are the series, and they were the top dogs. As a matter of fact, chapter 233 or 232 is one of those two, was their introduction chapter, is the highest authority in the world. We all believe the Gorosei top, like they rule this planet. But ever since Emu's introduction, we started looking at everything differently, because the Gorosei, every time they do something, anything for Emu, it's always out of like hesitation. They almost feel like this hint of shame for doing it. Like we see it in Eni's lobby where they waited until the very last second, and he was just like, "Yes, kill him. We gotta do it." And then same thing in 1060. It was like, "What a shame, what a shame." And even with Garcia Saturn's introduction, it was like, man, it's really is a shame what's happening with Vegapunk. You know, like they're not doing it like, kind of like Emu, where it's just juke, juke, destroyed. They actually have a heart in regards to, man, this. I can't believe we're doing this, but we have to do it.
And I wonder if part of the reason for that is, is for like, I don't know how to word this. Basically, like they do think it's a shame and all that, but it's from the lens of like, what a shame that these people are getting in the way of us ruling the world the way that we are trying to do. You know, it's like well, we like that guy. We like that guy. Too bad he started doing this stuff. We got to kill him. You know, and so I agree. There is like a human side, but it's almost like a twisted way where it's almost like, you know, like, oh man, like,
it goes both ways.
Yeah, like I got like no matter how cool or good they are or whatever, I got to stick to the rules, and so it's a shame to break, you know, they're doing that, like even though it's not really wrong per se, you know what I mean, like Clover finding information, that's whatever, but it's like oh, what a shame that this good person that we actually enjoyed having had to go do this. You know what I mean? So
because you bringing that up, remember whenever Garcia Saturn said, I've spoken to Vegapunk before, and I've always wondered, how did Vegapunk get the knowledge that an Iron Giant went up to the Mighty Joa 200 years ago? And after I saw the Saturn thing, I was like,
that's so true.
Maybe Saturn told him that. So that establishes that like he has enough trust in Vegapunk to tell him something like that happened, you know, and he allowed this to stay here for all this time.
That's
so, like,
crazy.
If that's true, then it's like Saturn really saw him as like an acquaintance, as a friend,
like a colleague almost,
like a colleague, you know. So you're absolutely right. He was like, you know what, it's a shame it had to happen to actually helping us in all of what we're trying to do. And it's like, man, that's why I can't wait for, I don't know if Vegapunk gets there. But if Saturn gets there and Vegapunk is there, I wonder how that comes. Yeah. Because
that's such a good point. I never considered that, but you're right. Like, I mean, like Vegapunk knows like he said it's conjecture, but like a lot about the Void Century and the history and all that because like of the horror stuff. But you're right, like he was pretty adamant. Like 200 years ago, this thing definitely happened, right? Like like so. That's an incredible point. Like he found the machine and probably like asked the Gorosei, like, do you know anything about this? And they probably are like, oh, like probably like a bad way of putting it, but like, oh, that thing it's tried to attack us 200 years. Like they probably know what it is, but you know what I mean. So he maybe pieced it together. But that's crazy. That's awesome. That's a deep way of tying that together. Real quick, I want to bounce to these super chats, but then I actually want to get onto a similar topic, especially the Iron Giant. So Mr. Bushido, I'm sorry I'm late on this, but thank you for the €2 super chat. You said, I think you meant to say there was a weather weapon in Sky Island in a game. King Recon, you probably know more about this. Do you know anything about a weather weapon in one of the games?
I believe the weather weapon, if I'm not mistaken, was used in the Wii game. One Piece Unlimited Cruise, I think was the name of it.
Okay.
I think the weather weapon was in that game.
Okay, because I do think whatever Uranus is, which I do think it's a living thing for sure, but whatever it is, I think it's going to definitely have weather powers of some sort. You know, I think that's a pretty common idea, but yeah, and also video games kind of spoil things sometimes, I feel like, or they get kind of close.
Look at Shanks.
Hey, they've been on it. It's so funny. I remember, like I talked about, I used to watch you know, whenever I first got into One Piece and all that, like circa 2018 or so. Whenever I got into it, I also watched King of Lightning a lot, and he talked about that a lot too. He's like, guys, I'm telling you, Shanks is going to do this because it's in a video game, and I was like, you know what? I'm with you, and it seems to be pretty accurate. The Wi-Fi hockey, you know what I mean? So that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's going to be certain things, obviously, that is just there for sake, but there's other things that the creators of the video game that they're putting this in because they think it's a possibility.
Yes.
And you know, if Oda likes it, he's like, hey, that's in line. Let's go with it.
Yeah, exactly. Or it could be like, you know, maybe he originally had different ideas for Shanks and he saw that. It's like, I can just throw that. Who cares? I can throw that in there. That's I don't need to change everything. Yeah. So I agree. Yeah. It's definitely not that the video game people get leaks or anything, but there's some good theorists, I guess. And then Young Usopp, thank you for the $5 super chat. I appreciate you. Great stream, fellas. Enjoying the convos and vibes. Hey, I appreciate you, man. That's what it's all about. That's the reason I honestly love One Piece as much as I do. It's just we talked about it earlier, just the community feel, the friends, that's really, it's crazy, man. But I want to get back to the 1074 stuff, the recent Egghead stuff, but specifically the Iron Giant, because I think what you said was really interesting, especially given the idea that I've had for the Iron Giant, which is that happened right when the Fishmen were going to join the Reverie 200 years ago. And then presumably after that situation happened, they weren't in the reverie. Like the government's like, we're good. Like that's kind of sketch. We don't want to do that. And so I wonder if the Iron Giant was a fail-safe mechanism in terms of like, if the fishmen ever start working with the world government, we gotta stop them, because then Poseidon falls under the world government, right? Like we can't let them start getting in their head that the government's good people and all that, because we need their help eventually. And then you tie that to Sky Island, right? Or I guess I should say Jaya and Shandora and stuff specifically, because they're still on the sea. Remember, Nolan visited them, and the same day he visited, an earthquake happened, and he got sandwiched between like the fissure in the ground, and then he left, and then it got sent to the sky. Right. And what was Nolan going to do? Tell the government that it was there, that he found the city of gold and here's where it is.
That's a great point. 2
examples of random things happening at very specific times that don't make a lot of sense to places that are very closely tied to the ancient kingdom and have poneglyphs. And Sky Island had the poneglyph that said where Poseidon was. And then Poseidon's obviously down in Fishman Island. So it's like those are deeply connected. You know what I'm saying? Like in many ways. So to me, I think the Iron Giant thing and Shandora and probably something else, like maybe even like what happened at God Valley for all we know, or maybe like it's like the ancient kingdom set them up ahead of time, right? Like we've heard about this like energy source and like and we know like willpower sticks around, like a man doesn't die until he's forgotten, you know what I mean? Like will lives on, inherited will, all that kind of stuff. What if it's a similar thing, right? Like the ancient kingdom needed the poneglyphs to exist so that people knew they were there, and so like the will and all that continued, and that's why the energy, like that's what the energy source for the Iron Giant is. That's what the energy source under the knock-up stream that started it. Like why did it start 400 years ago all of a sudden? Probably because Nolan got there, and then there's like some trigger, like, oh, we gotta start the pilot light, we gotta get the heater started down here to kick it up, So I think there's gonna be some big stuff with that Iron Giant, man. Like,
no, I like that. I think it's going to be huge because it's our first look. Like that chapter was our very first ever thing to the Void Century, ever. Like we had never seen anything from the Void Century. There's a reason why Oda kept everything from back then hidden outside of stuff like the sea stuff, Noah, Poseidon, all this stuff that could be seen as not stuff from the future. That was the first thing we ever saw from the future in the series.
Yep.
And the fact that it was the first thing from the future means Oda has massive plans in store for it, especially since I know how much he loves giants and robots. He, Luffy, Usopp, and Sugoi, and awesome.
Yep.
Oda. That's Oda, so I know end of series, we're going to be seeing crazy Gundam-like stuff happening all over the place. Oda loves that stuff. So the Iron Giant is going to have massive endgame importance for that reason.
Yeah, and, Oda said, like, once I finish writing One Piece, I want to draw a mecha manga. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like that to me should be the most telltale sign that like this guy's been writing this story. By the time he's done, like 30 years of writing or plus, maybe even more. And the next thing he wants to do is a mecha manga. Okay, like let's just it's probably safe to presume that he wants to draw that sooner rather than later. You know what I mean? Like he's going to include that every chance he gets, you know what I mean? So that's actually a big thing I think for like Frankie and the Sunny eventually fusing. To me, that's like, well, and the fact that the Sunny is on Frankie's bounty poster now. But with this mecha stuff, it's like, dude, like, once Frankie, this is like somewhat of a spoiler for my next video, but I don't really care. It's like once Frankie gets to talk to Vegapunk and get some upgrades, and maybe like Vegapunk learns like maybe Vegapunk sees like, oh, you care about your creations like I do, like you treat them like children, you know what I mean? And because like remember Vegapunk's very ethical, going back to like stuff with Caesar, and then also Frankie has cola, so that could be an interesting thing where Vegapunk's like, I've never even thought about cola, so there could just be an interesting thing where much like Caesar helped Chopper improve the Rumble Balls, it's gonna be the same thing where like somehow Frankie's gonna pique Vegapunk's interest, and Vegapunk be like, well, let me improve all that stuff for you. Like, hey, you can make the Sunny break up into different pieces and like attach. He's like, whoa, what you know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
He'll lose his mind.
Exactly. Because Frankie already has the shark submerge, which Vegapunk had. The first thing we saw was a giant shark in the water, like protecting it, right? And he like messed up the programming or whatever. So to me, that's like supernatural, like we're like a supernatural connection. Like we are gonna, like Vegapunk's gonna tell Frankie a couple things here and there to boost up his game, and we're gonna see some crazy Sunny Frankie combo eventually for sure.
Actually, to add on to that, because that's a fantastic point. Whenever we go to Elbaf, presuming that some stuff from the Atom Tree is there, and we know that that's what it has made up.
Yeah.
Sunny, so it would be really cool if with that, Vega provide a different perspective for Frankie to be able to, like you said, do modifications.
Yes.
To the Sunny with the potential. I mean, I'm not saying the Atom Tree is there at Elbaf. It probably might be like on Laptil, whatever, or in the Ancient Kingdom, wherever it is. But maybe there is, because Elbaf has been around for so many years, remnants of the Atom Tree and stuff from the Void Century that is going to allow Frankie to be able to create what is ultimately going to be the final version of 1000 Sunny. And that's going to be thanks to Vegapunk. So Vegapunk coming with us to Elbaf is going to be huge.
I like that.
For so many different things. But specifically for two characters that we know are going to be very...
Yeah.
Robin's already getting hers, but Usopp and Frankie, we know, are going to be coming out of Elbaf nasty.
Yes. It's
crazy power up.
Especially Usopp, man.
Usopp.
But no, I completely agree. And I'm glad you brought up the Atom Wood, because I think that could be really interesting towards his end game stuff. So just trying to think of like how not to spoil my whole video, but basically Frankie needs another sword now, right? His sword broke versus Sasaki, right? And so he has example, and I don't know what that sword was made of. I would presume it's made of Wapple metal, like the rest of the ship, or the rest of the Frankie Shogun is, but I don't think we actually know what the sword was made of. But either way, it broke, so he might be thinking, I need better material. Like I can't use the same stuff I've been using. Atom wood, right? So I know it's like a wooden sword. Like why would Frankie want a wooden sword? Well, let me hit you with something. Blackbeard's ship is the saber of Zebek. Right, so saber's a type of sword, and so is there a potential where Frankie and the Sunny are going to fight, someone else teaming up with the saber of Zebek, where that turns into a sword? You know what I mean? So literally the saber. So the saber of Zebek might actually be the saber of Zebek. Like it might actually be legitimately the saber. Yes, exactly. So then literally the ship transforms. So like shout out to Par with the Mihawk as a sword theory, and also he's talked about Klabautermans a lot recently. Go check out his recent stuff. But all that's a lot of things are alive in One Piece that like shouldn't really be alive, and swords and ships are like the top two examples in my opinion. Like swords and ships routinely have shown us that they can be alive. And so then you look at this, like we have literally a ship called the Saber of Zebek, and it's like a ship with the name of a sword. I'm just could it be a sword got a ship fruit, a ship got a sword fruit, like a sword got like a wood fruit? I mean, there's so many, or not even, maybe it's just a will thing in general, I don't know. But I just thought that was interesting. Like Frankie needs a new sword. Maybe we go to Elbaf. He's like, hey, can you make me like an atom wood sword? Like, can you? And maybe there's like only one person can do that. Like, because you need to make it so sharp or something. So then he gets a special sword. And then he faces off against the Saber of Zebek, which is also, I just thought that would be like perfect for the end game.
I love that, because think about it like this, right? The 1000 Sunny grew a will of her own to come save us in Annie's lobby. And that was like the will of the 1000 Sunny that was projected through all the Straw Hats, creating that. Let's just say Rox and that ship were together for so long that it actually became, the Saber of Zebek became almost like a manifestation of Rox's will, to where the ship took a certain form because of the and I know we're gonna get into this and within the series itself down the line, when it comes to stuff like the little hints we've gotten towards the creation of blades, with Zoro talking to his blade, being like, oh, Enma, so you're not going to be satisfied by anything conquers coding and stuff of that nature. So imagine Rox's ship, the Saber of Zebek, works in a similar way, to where you need to infuse it with a certain amount of things, so like Conqueror's coding or something, in order to make it work. And maybe that's how in the present time we see Blackbeard infuse his will into the ship, and that's how he created like the Saber. Man, I think that'd be really cool. Man,
I love that so much, because also we haven't seen the Saber of Zebek, right? Like we haven't seen it in the story yet. We just know that's what it's called. And a Zebek, like a Zebek is a type of ship. It's like a 3-sail trading ship. Like if you looked up a picture, you would immediately recognize it. And so I love that, because it could also be like a will matching thing to a degree. Like, yes, like definitely a strength level, but it's like, I'm not turning into a sword if you're a good guy, you know, or like if you work for the government, like I'm not, we're taking over the world, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so that could be it. Like maybe Blackbeard's kept it tucked away because maybe A, he can't use it yet, you know, like he's not strong enough, or B, he doesn't want to risk it sinking or acting out on its own if it takes it out. So it's more like a end game, like literal end game. He's going to break it out, and like it could be the Klabautermon anyway. It could just be all Klabautermon driven. Like, I don't know if you've heard this idea, but I love this theory where the Grim Reaper in Wano is Pluton's Klabautermon. So it's like because he's the god of the underworld.
Easy.
He's the god of the
that's true.
and they got the like, and also Zoro was like, I'm gonna be king of hell, and then Pluton's like, what'd you say? Like, I'm the god of the underworld. Like, don't talk to me. Like, don't talk to me.
It's like, yo, who do you think you are? Like,
it's like, I like, well, bro, like, yo, what do you like? Look at me, like I'm a skeleton, you know, like
that would actually allow that scene to make so much more sense now, if that's true.
And also, what I love about that is it also ties the sword and ship thing together. Like I was saying, like, you know, I was saying like the saber Zebek, all that stuff. Well, the Pluton, if that's true, which you know is definitely an if, but if that's true, then it made a person with a blade. You know what I'm saying? Like the Klabautermon is a swordsman. Like we are, like the sword and ship will combo is very evident. You know, obviously these are a little bit of stretches here and there, but it's like the will of inanimate objects that are like loved and well cared for is definitely going to be relevant. You know what I mean? Like it's coming in a massive way, and it could be Saber of Zebek. I don't know, but
I mean, it most certainly everything we talk about is it feels like it's far fetched but it's One Piece. Anything could happen. But ever since we were introduced to the idea, especially in the way that Oda's had this power system put into play, and Haki being the manifestation of one's will, and now we know the Devil Fruit manifestation of the desires of the past. So it's like, if these are your main two basis for battle, then it's not out of the realm of possibility. And there has to be a reason why back in Eni's lobby, and also like we've seen like jackets themselves, like with a jacket fruit. There's so many different things that can be applied to inanimate objects where they can take a life of their own due to whatever measure, whether it be the manifestation of desire or a manifestation of will, as has been shown to us throughout the series. So that's why I believe that stuff like this is definitely possible. And for me, Oda never introduces anything without having a purpose for it another time. Klabauterman obviously was brought in to introduce the spirit of a ship, also for fairy tale purposes. Yeah. We know how deep he goes into mythology and fairy tales, and Klabauterman's an actual thing, so he brought that into the series. One Piece survived it. But for that to have endgame importance in this type of way, to me, is super Oda. Yeah, and I think that would actually be key. I like that.
And I also think, depending on what, you know, Vegapunk and Frankie do with the Sunny mech, I can see a strong chance where the Klabautermon like makes the Sunny alive. Like the Sunny's face will have reactions. You know what I'm saying? Like we've kind of seen that a little bit where like Oda's like throwing like little examples of that. But I think eventually, like maybe it'll be like a, going back to Gurren Lagann, it could literally be like, you know how like it's a little bit of a, this is very like episode 1, like episode 3, but like sometimes they like dual pilot the Gundams, you know what I'm saying? So it could be the same thing. So Frankie, so it's like if they do a docking system, it's like, all right, Sunny, like, you know, like I can only control so many of the things at once, you know what I mean? So it's like the Sunny is like moving and Frankie's in charge of the missiles, and you know what I mean? It's like a good way to like tie that together. So
it'd be like back in Wano, whenever you had Usopp and Chopper in charge of the tank, and they were just going in.
Yes,
so, like, you have them on top, like Usopp's in charge of the top side.
Yes. Yes. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I do think each of the docking parts of the Sunny are going to be relevant, because like there's like the motorcycle part, there's the tank part, there's the shark, there's, you know what I mean? He's probably going to have like one on each arm or something. I don't know, but yeah, man, I'm super pumped for that. I feel like that's, yeah, ships and swords are like my favorite thing. And also I want to give a shout out to Duran Ross in the chat, who said Zoro versus Pluton endgame. I know you're kind of kidding, but there's actually something I want to bring up with that. Is whenever we met Mihawk, one of the first things he did was slice a ship in half. Like one of the very first things he did. And so I'm not saying it has to happen, but it would be kind of fitting for Zoro to cut like the craziest ship in the world in half as like a show of like, you know, like I'm really the strongest swordsman now. You know what I'm saying? Because but that would require like Pluton being on the wrong side, which is like a whole other thing. But either way, I thought that would be like a really good. Also tying back to the King of Hell thing. It's like King of Hell versus God of the Underworld. It's like now the King of Hell wins. You know what I mean? But that would also be kind of shocking because, you know, Pluton's a mole, and so it'd be killing a living thing. I don't know. Yeah, maybe just the robotic part that's like non-living. I don't know. But no, man. Yeah, I'm too excited for the end. Especially Egghead. So we're gonna wrap it up here soon, but I want to wrap it up just by getting your thoughts on. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but where do you think we're going next in the story? Like pretty much immediately. Like how long do you think we're going to be in Egghead? How I guess do you like we talked a little bit earlier about maybe Luffy separating this. Where do you see these things going? And just generally speaking, like I don't know, just what are you looking forward to the next few chapters?
Dude, I don't even know, man. Like ever since chapter 1071 happened, and we're just Garp, Stucy, then Garcia Saturn, and now I mean this.
Yeah.
Where do we go? You know, like an Egghead now it feels like it's gonna be a little long, based on this last chapter. The most recent chapter made me feel like the arc's gonna be a little longer than I thought because now everybody's separating again.
Yes.
Where so I feel like we've got a volume left in Egghead, which would be around like 7 to 10 chapters. I still believe that's probably going to be an estimate, but at the same time, I honestly, it's weird because Egghead feels like not only its own arc, but it feels like it's setting up everything around the world to the point to where it feels like right after Egghead or maybe after Elbaf, Oda's gonna have all the stuff happening around the world coincide with the events of the arc that we're currently in. So it's gonna be like, let's just say everything that, of course, is cooking a full island full of lead. We have the VV stuff up top. Of course, we have all the insanity happening. World Dragon is about to go in against the Celestial Dragons, and so all of that stuff is going to become a part of the main arc stuff, right? So we're setting up all of that around the world, and I do wonder, when we leave Egghead Island, we have this post Egghead stuff, considering what happens, right? If what you said earlier is true and Luffy stays behind, everybody else goes, that's going to provide a brand new, a whole new can of worms right there. But let's just say, hypothetically speaking, we managed to leave. I don't know how we do it, we like rocket ship out of there and we head to Elbaf or whatever it is. However it ends up happening, for me, the biggest key is once we leave Egghead, whether we leave with all the Vegapunk units or not, Punk Records, all that stuff, for me, it's going to be very interesting considering who's going to be left behind on Egghead Island and how all the stuff on the world is going to be coinciding alongside that. Because for me, I think the last quote-unquote single arc where stuff is happening there and the stuff around the world is not going to be directly coinciding with it, I think it's Elbaf. I think after Elbaf, there's no way like that the arcs after that won't have cross guild members, Blackbeard, Shanks. Like, you know, everyone's going to be there. So I feel like Elbaf arc where we have like no stuff from around the world. So I feel like Egghead, post Egghead, is going to be the opportunity to set up all the final pieces before we head into true Final Saga One Piece, right?
Yes.
So for me, it's going to be once we leave here, however it ends up happening, we have to cut to like 6 different things. We're going to continue seeing where this VV thing goes at the end of this chapter. We're going to see what's happening with Garp versus Blackbeard.
Yes, huge.
My personal theory is that Katakuri is going to go not to Elbaf. He's going to go to Island Full of Lead to get Pudding back because... And the reason why I feel this way is Katakuri allowed Pudding to get taken. And I feel like going with what happened in Whole Cake Island, it would be a great parallel for how only 5 people went into Yonko territory to get Sanji back. It would be great if for Katakuri to go either by himself or with a couple people from Big Mom's crew, a couple of his family members, to go and get Pudding back. Because for me, Big Mom is about to become very, very important again, where it's going to be her crew might have a big say in what happens over here in Island Full of Lead, and obviously what's about to happen here in Elbaf. So it's like we're going to be setting up this stuff on Island Full of Lead, which is humongous.
Yes.
The aftermath of what happens there is going to change the core series.
The whole series. I agree.
The whole series.
I agree.
So Then following that up, we have the possibility of whatever's going to happen with Kuma heading up to the Red Line, whether they kill him, whether Dragon makes it there on time, directly declares war. Sabo obviously needs to come back in there. Regardless, we know the army is going to at the end of Egghead Island, wherever it goes. Whether Dragon shows up on Egghead and he has the Saturn and that becomes like one of the most hype of all time, or he goes to Kuma, or they just go and say screw it. We're done holding back. It's time. Now we strike and we start moving.
Man.
There's so many different pieces where we're gonna be going in post Egghead, but I feel like post Egghead might be our, let's just say, whether it be 3 chapters, 4 chapters, whatever. What we see happen there is gonna allow us to cook for the rest of the series. Like,
I agree.
It's gonna be nuts, man.
And you brought up Garp, and what's so crazy is we don't even know the end of Blackbeard versus Law. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, and I totally agree. Like Egghead right now, it's almost like Wano in a way, where people, like, there's a couple of comments during Wano, like a lot's happening in the outside world type thing, but we haven't really seen all of it. I feel like I like what you're saying. We're like, once we get done with Egghead, whatever happens there, we're gonna really start figuring out what's happening in the world. You know, because Robin was reading the paper and was like, oh, Luffy, a lot of your friends are in here. Do you want to hear about him? He's like, no, I trust you to tell me. It's like Kobe was probably in that newspaper, because like that happened weeks beforehand. You know what I mean? So I
would argue there's something in there. Several things that we don't know. You know what I mean?
That are going to be massive.
Like Bartolomeo's face. I mean, we still have to know the big massive incident with the Grand Fleet that was hinted in Dressrosa, right? So it's like so many different things are probably in that news that we're going to find out either firsthand or telling them. Yeah. But
yeah, dude, I mean, One Piece fans are eating this year. That's all I can say. Like, to think that we left Wano, chapter 1058 was the first post Wano chapter, and here we are, like 16 chapters later, and we've met Vegapunk. We've heard a Gorosei member's name. We've seen Blackbeard versus Law and Blackbeard versus Boa, actually, and we know Garp is going to Hachinosu to fight Blackbeard. Like, in just 16 chapters. How clones are real. There's a clone of the rock spot. Stucy's a clone of the Lucci's Awakened.
Void Sentry had robots.
Void Sentry had robots. Void Sentry was in the future but in the past, you know what I mean? And not to diss Wano, which I do have some gripes with Wano, but that'll be a focus of a different stream. But you know, just to think about, like, if you took any 16 chapters in Wano, maybe not near 1044, that's like not fair, but if you took any 16 chapters from Wano, it's not as beefy as the 16 we've been getting. Like, it's just constant heat, like world changing, world developing heat, and it's like Wano had awesome highs, but man,
I would argue any arc. I'm talking.
Yeah, I agree.
Any arc in just this, right? Because we're talking, this arc is like Reverie, this arc is like Zoe, this arc is like Giant. We're presenting the whole world at big. There is no arc that has provided. That's why I stopped. I was gonna do an arc ranking the arc stream. And I stopped it. I was like, no, we're not doing this until Egghead. Because
it's top 5 probably.
Egghead legit could end up being top 5. Like, yes. It not only has everything going. Once we get the Kuma stuff, that is going to be the emotion that is central to every One Piece arc. And once that happens and we get to the end, it is going to have everything that should make a One Piece arc special. A really cool island, character moments, crazy reveals, twists, fights,
developing the next set of things. Like, that's always my favorite thing. Like when an arc ends and the way the arc was makes you excited to see how it like the next arc like that. Like, for me, an example, and I agree with you, nothing's like Egghead for the most part, but obviously, like, every arc has some similarities. But to me, it's somewhat like Zoe, where it's like a quick, like, let me just hit you with all this big info, and we're gonna get pumped for the next things we're doing, and then we're gonna go, and they might even split up, like I said. So for me, Zoe's in my top 5 for sure. Zoe's one of my absolute favorite arcs, because it's just so quick, hit you with the lore, you know, you're pumped for the next set. It's like a quick, like, Oda's like, let's just chill for a second, get back into, get our head straight, you know what I mean, learn some new things, and then carry on. And like, that's, but like you're saying, it is a whole next level with Egghead. Like, man, I mean, just meeting Vegapunk was like, that's like, whenever Lilith hopped off the Vega Force, that was actually the moment where I was like, all right, I have to start live reacting every chapter. I'm done. Like, I can't miss any more things. I can't. I'm not. And then I was so pumped that we got to see the real Vegapunk later. I was like, yes, I made it. But yeah, man.
Dude, that was a stretch of like just months of every chapter having some of the craziest stuff we'd ever seen in the whole series.
Dude, Emu.
We went from like, dude, it was a Big Mom being defeated, which I like still to this day I still can't believe that happened. Like Kid in Law actually took out Big Mom. The whole Luffy Kaido peak fiction stretch. Momonosuke adult form, Green Bull pulls up,
Shanks Wi-Fi Haki,
Shanks Wi-Fi Haki, a Cross Guild, End of Wano, and then the bounties, and then the chapter after was Blackbeard pulling up on, and it was Leloucia.
Bro, like how does Oda do this, dude? And what's crazy is like we're saying, like, you know, this wasn't a particularly like clear moment to us that like, oh, we're about to get hit with some big time stuff. Like usually after an arc, you get the bounties, you get to hear what's going on in the world. Like that's a pretty common thing. But we weren't ready for Leloucia. We weren't ready for multiple Blackbeard alter, like all this stuff. And it's like, bro, if Oda's doing this now, what's about to happen when we get to the actual end? Like Oda to me is constantly like preheating the oven, you know, like that's like the way I can think of it. Like he has the oven on like 1000, whatever the maximum setting is. He bought some stuff to increase the temperature, and he's constantly heating it up.
He set it in an SPS. He bought a new grill.
Yeah. Oh, did he really?
It wasn't SPS. It was in the author comment for the Shonen Jump chapter.
There you go. There's the evidence right there. He constantly has it preheated, and he's just whenever he decides to throw it in there and start really cooking. I mean, it almost scares me to think about. Like it's like I don't, and what really scares me is like people who you know haven't gotten into the story yet. Like this is like a once in a lifetime thing, you know.
Bro, I was just about to bring that up. Like, so for me, experiencing the series for weekly for so long, Wano was a once in a lifetime that had so many different things. I'll never forget when it stopped on chapter 955, ended Act 2, and we went around the world for those 2 chapters. I was so shocked. We're going around the world now, like, and so Wano had so many different things that made the weekly experience so special that I just thought every single week I was, someone's gonna get a chance to binge this.
Yes,
and I feel that like triple now after having experienced all of the stuff. Like, God, I can't imagine someone having the opportunity to binge.
Yes.
All of the Wano craziness and the Egghead craziness.
Dude, exactly. And then, like, right now, to me, is the perfect time to get into One Piece. Like, I mean, I'm always going to say that, to be honest with you, but it's because, like you're saying, you get to binge some, like, some of the best stuff we've ever had, for sure. And you're going to get caught up just in time to see stuff unfold live with the community. Like that I've
always wanted to see.
Yes. Like that is a feeling in life that nobody will ever get to replicate. You know what I mean? Like we've talked multiple times about how close you feel to people once you know they like One Piece. Yes. But just whenever we have a global situation of that, where like we can feel we're all on our toes waiting for this chapter to drop because we know Luffy just got the laugh tail and we're about to, you know, like, man, like that to me is gonna be like, I say once in a lifetime. It might even be bigger than that. Like it's like one of the best stories. I mean, obviously I'm a One Piece fan, so I'm gonna say, you know, be a little hyperbolic, but like it's one of the best stories written ever. You know what I mean? Like stories don't last this long. It is an epic of epic proportions. You know what I mean? Like some of the greatest stories ever in history are, you know, this is same tier. So it's a once in a lifetime thing for sure.
Dude, I talk because I do so much research on literature and history, and for me, I'm always, every time I'm reading about someone speak about certain texts at the time periods, like let's say I'm the 1400s, 1500s, and they're speaking about like the influence that someone like a William Shakespeare had on everyone. How it was to experience that? How it was to experience a Shakespeare play by him and the time? Like they had that. We have this, where I'll never know because we're all going to be long gone by then, but 200 300 years from now, if this series is still being talked about as in terms of, you know, every single medium has their like experience that everyone has to go through, right? Like that's been constant for hundreds of years. When the paintings, you have like Van Gogh and Da Vinci, and plays you have this, in books you have this. for me in manga, I feel like one of the quintessential reads, no matter how long we go into the future, is going to be One Piece, specifically because it is going to be one of the only adventures of its kind, one of the epics, kind of like the Iliad and the Odyssey of its time, and we have the opportunity to experience this on a weekly basis as it's being created.
Yes.
And it's like, man, like I'll give you a quick example. I've had so many of these in my time being a One Piece fan. I can't even like it's the reason why I'm so addicted to the experience. But bro, 2 chapters back to back of stuff that I had been wanting to see for so long. In Luffy's dream, and then following that up with who I thought was reading those 2 chapters back to back.
Real quick. At least on my end, you cut out. You said Luffy's dream and what? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no. Let me pull this a little closer. But for Vegapunk, for Lilith, like the chapter you said that you had to start doing reactions.
Oh yeah.
1061. When I saw Vegapunk, because you hear that name, I have been saying Vegapunk's name for what felt like at that point 13 years. Yep. I was like, when I see Vegapunk, that's how we know it's over. That's how we know it's getting to the end. So when we went to Vegapunk's island, coming off of Wano, which Wano already felt endgame to me. Oh, bro, like I'll tell you what. In these past like 2 years, I've had so many emotional moments coming off streams where I'm like, it's coming to an end, man. Like we have to be grateful. Single scenario, all these, the interaction you and I are having. This is not weird.
Yes.
And it's a special experience, bro.
That's exactly it. And I've heard it said before, I don't know if it was you, but maybe it was Par. I know somebody put it before, where like, streams like this are time capsules, like we're gonna get to go back and like, before we knew the truth, like what were we thinking? And like you're talking with Shakespeare, imagine if we could go back and hear what people were thinking, like, oh, I can't wait till the next Shakespeare play or whatever it is, like I can't wait to go watch it, or whatever it is, right? Or like the Iliad and the Odyssey, it's like, man, or like I don't know, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, whatever it is, right? It's like people around like this, like their version of One Piece were those stories, and no disrespect to those stories, but like, we live in a much different society. It's like a lot more globalized, and like Oda himself is aware of like I shouldn't say every, but he is almost every, like religion and like type of cult. Like he imbues so many of those into his story, and it's like, like as time goes on, and like, I mean, just books and information is more widely available. Like stories are going to keep getting, in my opinion, more and more, richer and deeper because of that, right? Because the writers themselves are going to be more aware of deeper plot lines and ways to tie things together, all that kind of stuff. And so as everything you said, I agree. This is just a special time, man. It's just like, it's a special time to be alive for so many reasons. I mean, One Piece, obviously. I mean, you and I talked a little bit about sports. We won't have to spend too much, but I mean, the NBA is amazing this year, and you have the Eagles in the Super Bowl of all things. But it's I don't know. I mean, it's always a good time to be alive in general. You know what I mean? But man, like this is really, really special, I think, with One Piece for sure. Yeah. So
2023 is going to be a year we'll never forget as One Piece fans across the board. Like we said at the beginning of the stream, there's going to be so many memorable experiences. The most for all the years that I've been reading in manga and watching anime, my favorite weekly experience is the night that we got the Drums of Liberation, Joy Boys returned, all the way up to the Gear 5 reveal in 1040. That stretch, those like 2 weeks, I've been doing this for a really, really long time.
Yeah,
I used to watch it on YouTube. I have never been a part of something like that, and to know that experience probably pales in comparison to the cliffhanger we're gonna get when the chapter ends on Luffy. I see something in the distance. Double pay spread. Ancient Kingdom. We've arrived at Laugh Tale. One Piece is going on break. The following chapter, when we get to that,
those couple weeks.
Those couple of weeks, I advise every single person, the moment that we see Laugh Tale in the distance and we're approaching, I advise everyone just turn off, like, call your mobile service and just turn it off.
Cancel your internet.
Cancel your internet. Don't get spoiled on those chapters.
Dude,
those are gonna be once in a lifetime chapters.
I could not agree more, man. And I mean, I echo everything you said, man. It's gonna be special. And we can sit here and talk about how special it is, but it's going to be even more special when it happens. Like, it's going to hit you, and nothing will ever replace the feeling of going in unspoiled and finally seeing Luffy get the One Piece become the king of the pirates. Everyone laughs so hard they cry, all that kind of stuff, you know. And
I'm thinking about it gets me emotional, bro.
it does, man, it does. But hey, look, I think that's a great note to end on. We hit the 2-hour mark, so I want to keep it around here. So, I mean, King Recon, man, this was as good of a discussion as I was hoping for, man. This was everything I was hoping. This was the perfect first Davy Dak fight, in my opinion. This is exactly what I was hoping for. Like I said, every creator to me brings something to the table, and you have always had I don't want to say the purist, knocking other people or anything, but to me, you've always had one of the most pure loves for One Piece and the excitement and I mean, you've been around for a long time, so congrats on 20K, by the way. I saw some people saying that in the chat. Marshall D. Preach gave you a shout out, some other people.
Shout out to Marshall D.
Yeah, hey, Preach and I go way back. He really helped me out, but no, man, this was excellent, man. Thank you so much for doing this, and thank you everyone for tuning in to the first Davy Dak fight. This definitely will not be the last one. A week from today, I'm going to try keeping it the same time slot. Next week, I'm going to have 3 Vol on, so you guys can go ahead and look forward to that. My boy 3, love 3. Oh, we love 3 around here, that's for sure. But if you have anything else you want to say, King Recon, you want to plug anything or whatever, or just I don't know, fly Eagles fly, whatever you want to do.
Dude, yeah, first and foremost, yeah, fly Eagles fly. But but no, dude, a huge thank you to you, Dak, man. I can't even tell you how much fun this was. Kevin and I were able to get together a couple of months ago to have a conversation similar to this, talking about stuff in the future that was going to take place. And I can tell you, if I would have told him in that conversation spoilers that we know now for what's happening, believed it.
Exactly.
That is how incredible the stuff has been. And so it has been a privilege to talk to you, my friend, and to know that everything we said now, like, placed into a time cap.
Yeah.
That months from now, when we reconnect again, we're gonna look back on this and be like, what were we thinking? Look at the stuff that's happening now.
Yeah, exactly. All the stuff we predicted there, I guarantee you that's we maybe hit 10 or 20% max. Like as far as like the next few chapters, like Oda's like if we couldn't predict what's happened recently, then the next stuff that's happening we also can't predict, right? So well, King, thank you so much, Coach. It was a pleasure having you on here. So we'll definitely